Hello out there. Welcome back to TableTalk, Discussion and Discourse. I, as always, am your host, Alejo, aka Graydon95.
And I, as always, am your host with the most the existential anxiety,
Oh.
Sneaky Adolf.
And I am your third host, investigating one of my favorite RPGs tonight. Fucking can't wait. Let's do it.
It's
Not
true.
even gonna introduce myself.
It's true. Yes.
The nameless eldritch horror Prince Boo.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not nameless now,
Oh, shit.
and now I'm significantly less terrifying because I have a name. It's like Hastur the Unnameable or the Unspeakable. It's like, oh shit, I spoke of him.
Yeah. So today, we are going to be talking about, Call of Cthulhu.
Yay.
We haven't...
And not a shitty one.
Yeah.
Not shitty!
Yeah, we thankfully we aren't going to be talking about something like Fate of Cthulhu like we did so long ago.
Not Call of Cthulhu Terminator Edition.
Yeah, well, like, yeah.
Or Skynet Edition, I guess.
There you go. Yeah, it's just anyway.
Yeah, no.
Is it Terminator flavored Cthulhu or Cthulhu flavored Terminator?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
eh.
I think it's Cthulhu flavored.
I don't even think so. Really.
Well,
considering...
here's the thing.
Mhm.
It's so not Cthulhu.
Mhm.
It's so much more of this other shit.
Mhm. Yeah.
That I don't think it is something flavored Cthulhu. It's Cthulhu flavored something.
Yeah.
It was a trick question. The answer is it's flavored like self-righteousness.
Oh, there you go.
That's true.
But yeah, I scoured YouTube, and like I told you guys before, fucking there are so many videos on like the actual game of like people playing the game.
So like
But
actual campaigns.
Yeah, there are
Oh.
very few videos on the topic of the game, right?
That's very strange.
Well, it seems like people universally understand that Call of Cthulhu is pretty good, and
Yeah, it's true.
how it works.
Yeah, because it's a really, really fucking easy, simple system that it's hard to fuck up.
Exactly.
I would also wager it's partially because since it's a bit less like in the spotlight
That's
of
yeah.
TTRPGs,
Yeah,
that
it's
you
true.
get a lot less of the normies and the secondaries.
Yes. Yes. Let me just go and make sure that I have.
No SJWs, only beardy boys in basements.
Exactly. So let me just get these two links here. So, first off, I figured, hey, this is kind of interesting, because it thankfully was one of the things that came up. We have Call of Cthulhu is the best introduction to role-playing games, which I vetted a little bit. I watched it. It's an interesting thought. And so yeah, let's this is brought to us by your humble game master.
Oh,
This guy.
yeah, no, a new target.
Well, so having looked through the content a little bit of what we're going to be covering today, none of it's like anything egregious as far as I could tell.
Yeah, because because Call of Cthulhu is like, at least the editions that I've played, it has such a simple and solid system.
Yeah, exactly.
That there's not unless until you start getting into homebrew stuff where you start getting crazy.
Right.
Straight out of the book, it's pretty
Yeah, it's super good.
Yeah, because there's, aside from spells, which you don't want to cast anyway,
right.
There's not really any super powerful things because you can get guns, but guns don't do shit against monsters, and
Exactly.
so you're never overpowered.
This is
Ever.
like I looked at and I posted one of the videos, which I just kind of deleted because it was just looking over the game. It was literally just explaining the game, from cover to cover, basically, of the Keeper's Guide. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's like useful, but I don't know.
That's not really.
It's not really like gonna be helpful, exactly. So
yeah.
But highly recommend if you want to look into Call of Cthulhu yourself out there, lovely viewer. Like, fucking go and find YouTube videos of it, because, man, it's actually got people covering that shit, which is good.
But if you look into it, you won't come back out the same.
No, you won't. It's true.
Because it's fucking Call of Cthulhu. And
so,
anyway.
Yeah, so here we go.
Greetings, I'm your humble game master, and tonight I'm going to tell you why I believe Call of Cthulhu is the best introduction to the world of role-playing games. Now, to many, this might be a heretical statement.
Yeah.
For most, I'm sure you'd believe that the best introduction to the world of role-playing games would be the original, the first, the most popular, the holy of holies, that is Dungeons & Dragons. And sure, Dungeons & Dragons has some of its own sort of starter sets to get people into the hobby, including ones themed for Stranger Things and Rick and Morty. But for me, I'd have to personally say that no, I don't actually believe this is the best introduction to the hobby. Now, a bit of a disclaimer. This is purely based on my opinion, based on introducing people to the hobby that have very little familiarity with role-playing games or with the fantasy genre. This isn't going to work for everybody, even though my hyperbolic way of saying it may imply that I think it does. Now, for those...
So, I appreciate that you have at least put out there that it's not, like, definitive. This is from your own experience.
And it's just an opinion.
Well, still, though, if you're going to be setting forth an opinion, it should be backed up by fact.
Absolutely.
It's true.
And thankfully, like, having watched this before, he actually puts in the effort of saying some things. So hopefully it helps with the argument. But I will say, though, I appreciate, though, that, you know, even though I understand putting the thing as a fact with your title, he's at least put out that, hey, but also, like, because
it's also nice that he did it within, like, the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's
nice.
Like, with what we usually get people that go, yes, but this is my opinion, but also, like, let's use the statements that are either wishy-washy or like, or like
maybe not.
Let's agree to disagree. You know,
stuff like that stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, either stick to your guns or don't. Right? Yeah. Like, I don't know what you're doing here. But thankfully, with as far as I remember from watching this, because it's been like an hour or so, maybe more since I watched this. No, it's been more than an hour. That's right. Yeah. That he at least, like, doesn't divert from his point, I think. Anyway.
And then depending on what he says, I might actually have more to add in to kind of, like, back up, because I actually am of the opinion, that Call of Cthulhu, I don't know if it's the best, but it is definitely a great introduction.
From what he says, I can see why it can be, and I can honestly, I'm not entirely sure, but I can see why it can be.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, and I'd love to go into this in more detail in another video at some point, Call of Cthulhu from CoC is a long-running role-playing game based on the works of a troubled and somewhat controversial early 20th century author by the name of H.P. Lovecraft. His influence has been seen throughout the horror genre and can be seen in horror stories and movies alike. And Cthulhu himself has become very ubiquitous lately and has turned up in a lot of memes and cartoons and all sorts, showing that he has now got a little bit of mainstream appeal. Despite that, he is a controversial figure. And a lot of the modern interpretations of the role-playing game and his works try and find ways of challenging some of his strange perspectives. They were quite strong even for the time. But the role-playing game itself is set in our world, usually in the...
Okay, so before we go too much further, I also am thankful that he goes, hey, his stuff was kind of controversial, and then just kind of leaves it at that. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't go
because-
hard into it, right?
Yeah, because there was always the back in the 80s, and I guess we're seeing it again now.
Mhm.
The whole thing where D&D is evil, and
Mhm.
like your devil worshippers, yada yada yada. That happened to D&D because it was the popular one, and it
Exactly.
had demons on the cover. If
Mhm.
Call of Cthulhu was the popular one, oh my god,
that
it
shit
would have been
would've-
a different fucking story.
Put that shit in the ground and never dig it back up.
Yeah, right? People would have fucking looked for his books and like tried to fucking burn all the copies and shit. Cause like in D&D, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Calling back to our current campaign where we're playing as devils, I've never actually heard of another campaign, like on the internet, even. I've never heard of another campaign where you're playing as either devils or demons. Ever. Now, that's not to say that there is, but I just feel like that's like even for D&D where you can be anything you want, I feel like that is actually slightly uncommon.
Yeah, no, it is fairly rare. It's the first I've heard of it, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to get involved in the campaign.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
When I first heard of it, because it's such a off the wall premise.
Yeah, exactly. And so in D&D, you have devils and demons, but you usually always fight against them.
Totally.
With Call of Cthulhu, sometimes you actually have to fucking ask these outer entities for their power. You actually have to perform sacrifices and cast rituals and shit. And this is like, it's not like D&D where it's like, oh, I ritual cast this. You sit down, draw a circle, and fucking steeple your hands together, and then poof, magic happens. This is where you fucking like go out, you get black robes, and you kidnap a fucking sheep, and you fucking split it open stem to stern, collect all its blood and burn the blood with oil under the full moon. You're doing actual ritual shit.
They in something like Call of Cthulhu, it is taken more seriously. But then again, I would say that in D&D, it just depends on how it's being played out, right? Like,
exactly.
Because I know for a fact when I was DMing for one of my groups that one of my characters would go kind of in depth on how they did their rituals, being the drow, right? And so kind of went super in depth into like, okay, so these bones, and I start to and I pray because as I cut them open and I start spilling their blood, and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool.
See, now there's only one difference between that kind of ritual in D&D and the rituals in Call of Cthulhu. With that kind of a ritual in D&D, that's the player choosing to do that, which is totally awesome. And don't worry, I'm not saying that that's wrong, and you should totally have more badass rituals in D&D. But in D&D, that's the player choosing to do that. In Call of Cthulhu, there are rules for the rituals where you're like, okay, you need this, you need a sheep, you need this like poison dagger, otherwise the ritual doesn't fucking work.
Okay.
They make you do that shit. As opposed to D&D where it's like, oh, do you want to ritual cast it? Sure, okay. Boop. If you choose to not do it.
And again, I would say, in D&D's defense, that's just like, if you want to play it that way, you can play it that way, right?
I know. I'm not, and don't worry, I'm not saying that the rituals in D&D are bad.
I'm not implying that you are.
Okay.
I am somewhat of a different take on this, actually. Okay. I would say that it is this way in both games. You can be super in depth in Call of Cthulhu or in D&D, but it's going to matter pretty much only on the DM's discretion. Because you don't have to go in depth in Call of Cthulhu. You can. But to act like the two treat like these super in-depth processes different, as far as I'm aware. Mechanically, there's nothing I know of in 7th edition to reflect that.
Really? I could have sworn. I hope I'm not remembering that wrong. It has been a while since I looked at my. Where the fuck are my 7th? Oh, there they are. They're buried under shit.
I'll admit though, I'm sort of a hypocrite on this one. I have not read through the player's handbook completely.
If I remember right, it wasn't the player's handbook. It was the Yeah, here it is. It is
the Keeper's Guide or whatever it is.
No, it was not that. It is the this is another 7th edition. It's a supplement.
Oh.
The Grand Grimoire of Cthulhu Mythos Magic.
Mm.
And it has every single spell in the series. It's awesome. And so it goes through, like, even in the first pages, it has all the different fucking things, like, are the stars right, the nature of sacrifice, working space, like all these different rules for how you do it.
Oh, okay.
And then it also has a 100 table, a D100 table of different spell components.
Oh.
And so you could need literally number 2, animal sacrifice.
Right.
And then you've got meteorite, somatic gestures, fucking arsenic, hair, eye, clay, brain, skyclad, which is being naked, apparently, human sacrifice.
So my question then becomes, that table, is that like something that you would roll on to figure out what the components would be for the spell?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
And so basically you as the keeper are creating the ritual.
Yes. And then there are also ones that they like specifically list an actual thing. Like most of the ones are like it's usually like the scrawling of a sigil or making of a potion or something where you have to like I would have to look into some of the specific ones, but I do remember one that's like, if you want to, I think it's like a guardian circle type thing where you have to carve the symbol of the elder sign into a large stone obelisk every day for like a full solar month. And then after that, like, it works. But I think you like on the final day, you have to like put like the blood of a sacrificed creature into the carved section of the thing.
Well, it's sort of this is also reflective, and it's sort of a false analogy, but it reminds me also of this is also fairly similar to the source work of most of H.P. Lovecraft stories, wherein the story with Wilbur Whately. Which one was that one?
Horror, the Dunwich Horror.
Yeah, the Dunwich Horror.
Wherein the sort of the main protagonist of the story has to go to the Arkham library, look at the Necronomicon, and they're going through and they're like, oh, well, you can make this mist thing, but it's going to require like these ingredients, and it's going to be really hard to make, and that only like tangentially helps with the process of dealing with this horde that has befallen the countryside.
And I mean, hell, technically they could have done it without it, but they did it anyway.
But it helped.
It's one of those things that I can't remember from reading what I did of the Keeper's thing, because as I've learned, you only really need the Keeper's Handbook, right? You don't need the Investigator's Handbook at all.
Yeah, no, you just need the Keeper's Handbook.
Which is interesting to me. That they would do that, but I'm totally fine with that. It's just one of those things of like, some information that would be more of a Keeper's stuff would be there, and then they don't have that kind of separated, but they kind of do in a way. I don't know.
It's a little weird.
It's fine. It's fine the way it is.
It saves money on books.
It's true. It's fine the way it is, and like so the using the magic in such a way, I don't know if that's in the Keeper's like guide at all. Is that because
I have it. Hang on.
Yeah, I have my copy, my PDF copy somewhere here, but I assume that the Keeper's I don't know, but I assume that the Keeper's thing has like the very minimum for spells, right?
Yeah,
it just has.
I think so. Come on. Yeah, it does have a magic section.
Yeah, exactly.
Magic.
So But the things you were describing were supplementary, right? They're in a different supplement. So
it is made by the same people.
I know. I'm just saying, like, different. It being in the supplement kind of is
so that it is somewhat removed.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Like you don't look at Mordenkainen's and think, oh, it's mainstream, necessary D&D content.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And so, hell, even one of the things that I really like about the magic in Call of Cthulhu is that you can do this in D&D if you want, like if you want to homebrew it, but in Call of Cthulhu there are rules for pushing. Oh, okay, no. Pushing rolls is a Call of Cthulhu thing.
Yes, that is a Call of Cthulhu.
That was my bad. I thought this was just a magic casting roll. But one of the things that's really neat about Call of Cthulhu is that you can push the roll. Very simply put, you get to try the roll again, and if you fuck up, something bad happens.
Yes.
That's basically all there is to it. One of the things that's really interesting is that you make a roll to cast magic, and if you choose to push the roll, the magic will succeed no matter what, but there will be a bad side effect.
Right.
Which is very interesting. So, and again, there's a table for what happens. And it's fucking awesome. So it's like, 1, blurred vision or temporary blindness, disembodied screaming, voices or other noises, strong winds, bleeding from the caster, others' presence or the environment, like the walls or trees, fucking hallucinations, small animals in the vicinity explode.
Everyone gangsta till the walls start bleeding.
Yeah.
Like,
and then so wait, there's a spell list right here. You keep going.
So basically, like, I'm not trying to say that one system is better than the other in this respect of like the magic or anything like that. I'm saying now that fucking the Call of Cthulhu has its audience, right?
Yes.
There are people who play D&D that I know for a fact who probably were introduced. In fact, excuse me, goodness. Aiden and I were introduced to D&D. That was our gateway, more or less, right? Into role-playing games. And like, had we been introduced to Call of Cthulhu back, like, as our first kind of RPG, I would think that both of us would have gotten into it immediately.
You are actually sort of my intro into Cthulhu stuff in general, Alejo.
Oh yeah?
I didn't know about Lovecraft pretty much at all until I saw your desktop, and I'm like, yo, who's that giant squid man?
Hey.
And you're like, you mean Cthulhu?
Yeah.
You look at him and you go insane, and I was like, that's a stupid power. and then the more I learned about the nature of the eldritch and the indescribable in Lovecraft, the more I'm like, yeah, you do.
But like, great. I what I mean is there are certain there are people who have played these kinds of things who, if they were introduced to it right and they were like able to find this kind of thing, like you just said, if you looked into it more and then you go and you like look at Call of Cthulhu, you'd be like, yeah.
Although some people don't. Some people are like, oh no.
And that's fair. That's honestly, that makes total sense. There are some people who aren't into the whole I die every 2 seconds because they want to be the hero without having like it be a grimdark kind of thing, right?
Yeah, you've taken a fundamentally different approach to solving problems in Call of Cthulhu versus in D&D. In D&D, you're like, oh, well, there's a dragon that's messing up that town. Time for me to pick up my flaming holy sword and the backing of my god or goddess and smite that dragon till he or she stops.
And then
in Call of Cthulhu, it's like, hey, there's some like shady guys who are sacrificing goats in the woods, and you're like, better go over there with a shotgun and intimidate them.
Fucking get out of here. Get out of here.
Or quite literally, oh, there's some rumors of something, some kind of thing that's been hunting some of the local fauna in the swamp.
in the swamp, and then you see it, and then you're like,
go, oh,
Yeah.
you just run.
I actually found my little notepad I was keeping in that campaign.
Oh, with the drawing?
A few weeks ago,
Yeah.
with the weird drawing of the frog with the tentacle beard.
Yeah.
I just look at one page and scrawled on it is, oh god, the eyes.
Yep. Fucking great.
Yep.
So now, so I found a spell.
Okay.
And this is one of the spells that I actually wanted to use, but didn't get around to it. So, if you own the, this is, what edition did we play? 7th edition?
7th edition. It's the most recent one, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, for anybody who owns it, this is the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu Keeper's Rulebook. Page 250 in Magic, or in Grimoire, Chapter 12. Consume likeness at the very bottom left-hand side of the page. The caster can assume the living likeness of a person freshly dead as seen by eye, video camera, X-ray, etc. The victim may be no more than 15 size points different from the caster, so you can't, do this with, I don't know, a fucking...
Andre the Giant.
Yeah, exactly. For the next few days, the caster consumes the dead victim and works the spell, expending 10 magic points every 6 hours and permanently sacrificing 5 power, which is like magic. The caster could consume several likenesses and thereby take on several guises. When a victim is consumed, the caster loses 1d20 sanity points, and this spell is known by many serpent people.
Oh, of course.
So I adore that. Man, that's so good.
So yeah, there are, and this is in the fucking rulebook. You have to do this shit. Yeah, that's why I like it so much. Because all the spellcasting is ritualistic shit, and it's fucked, and I love it.
And I agree that from mechanics and written rules that Call of Cthulhu's spells are much more involved.
Yes.
Right. They are incredibly involved. Like you just stated, you consume the likeness of this person.
You eat the fucking corpse.
You basically
over the course of what?
You have to
for the next few days.
Yeah, you have to eat that dead body.
Yeah.
Or you have to somehow consume that X-ray.
No. What it was saying is that once you complete the spell, you will appear as the other person, even under an X-ray.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to consume
you will appear as that person in all those formats.
And you lose sanity and all that shit, and it's great.
Yes.
I hear that, but I raise you page 233 of the Player's Handbook of D&D 5th edition. Disguise self, first level illusion. Casting time 1 action. That's 6 seconds, baby. Make yourself, including your clothing, armor, weapons, and other belongings on your person, look different until the spell ends or until you use your action.
Oh man.
Fuck.
Yeah. All right. Disguise self is vegan.
Yeah.
Yes,
vegan consume likeness.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so good.
But yes, let's continue on with this.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
And that all branched out from me just saying, imagine if Call of Cthulhu was the popular one.
Yeah, no, exactly.
1920s, although different time periods can exist, like the Victorian time period or even a medieval version of the game. But the default is the 1920s, and the players are investigators, and they're looking into strange and uncanny events, unraveling strange occult mysteries that are...
I want to investigate Eldritch Horrors, but unfortunately I'm laid up with typhoid. Excuse me, they put borax in my milk so I couldn't taste that it was sour. I guess now I'm just laid up with a fever for a month now.
Yeah,
Yay.
right? Oh man, I nicked myself in the woods. Gotta fucking cut my whole arm off now.
I rolled to take a bath. Alright, do you die?
Try to sneak up on that fucking deep one. Oh shit, I'm wearing full plate armor. Fuck. And it's Call of Cthulhu, so that's loud as shit.
Yeah.
I mount my horse. Shame you approached it from the side. It's now kicked you.
Grant, you're fucking dead.
So
can I push the roll? No, the horse already did.
No. The horse pushed his kick roll.
Yeah. So Call of Cthulhu is one of those things where if you do it, like I can see people doing it in those kinds of settings and having a blast, right? Because you're a peasant in fucking medieval.
You're so fucked, dude.
And then you're just like, what the fuck is that? Oh, I'm dead. I have nothing.
That would actually be super interesting to have a Cthulhu campaign that spanned the generations, like JoJo.
JoJo, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
totally.
That'd be fucking sweet.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be super cool.
Especially too, given the fact that like you die so easily.
Yeah.
So you could very easily say, all right, your characters are established, they have families and whatever.
Yeah.
And when you die, we now immediately swap to like your character's kids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
go
yeah.
like 20 years in the future and they're now an adult and they're doing their thing and then
like the cult has advanced their shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's the family business.
Yeah, dude, you become that secret society that is like looking
be
at
fucking
this
cool
kind of
as
shit.
hell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rogue Legacy, where the final boss is Cthulhu.
Yeah,
hell yeah,
super cool. But it's I just fucking guess I'm gonna die just from existing.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen anything. I'm just gonna die.
Because it's medieval times.
What do you mean my bread is half made out of alum?
And that's kind of one of the beautiful things about Call of Cthulhu is that it takes place in a setting that we can just research because it's our world.
Yeah, yes,
right?
Exactly.
We
looked up 1920s Louisiana.
Yes, it's true.
And I found a city in Louisiana.
It's
like,
true.
okay, we'll play there.
Yeah.
Now here's a bitch though. Considering that Call of Cthulhu usually pretty much always takes place in the 1920s, you would be very surprised at how hard it is to figure out what was the current technology of the 20s. That's hard to fucking find.
Or pricing.
Yeah.
Pricing's not that bad because a lot of things are priced in the Keeper's Handbook.
That's true.
Yeah.
So like guns, ammo, camping gear, clothing, drinks, food, stuff like that. That's all priced out.
One of the things that always sort of annoyed me though in Call of Cthulhu is the fact that they have like pricings for the guns, right? But nowhere in the books do they mention the fact that you could go to a hardware store to buy a M1A1, like like a Tommy gun.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing is with the Tommy guns, there are I don't know if there's rules, but there's suggestions about how to handle like military grade weaponry and like mob weaponry.
Given that they were sold at freaking Home Depot, I wouldn't consider them military grade.
Wait, they were?
Yeah, you could go to a hardware store and buy a Tommy gun.
Oh, I did not realize that. Okay. Then the military version.
Yeah, this is something that you can research, which is great.
Yeah. It's just hard to find some stuff, which is weird.
It's one of those things that it just depends on how heavily you want to research it, right?
Yeah.
You could get by with doing minimal research and just playing the game as is, right? Like it's fine.
You want a bit more loosey-goosey.
Yeah, and I think he actually makes a point of it. If not him in another video, it might. But that does make it very accessible because it's not hard to imagine life in our reality, just slightly different, right?
Yeah, because we're here. We're already in the shit timeline.
Exactly. All you gotta do is put on a fake 1920s radio caster like, hey, Sonny, check out the gams on that dame over there.
Exactly.
Boy, oh boy, do I sure hate black people and love milkshakes.
Yeah, right?
And
it's
like,
super easy to roleplay. You just be a fucking raving lunatic racist and you're good.
Yeah. Remember the
White
candy
guy.
that Mike bought?
Yeah, yes, I do. That's
The
not.
one that Joe
I
made
just.
on-
Well, we will not say that.
It's so
Not
good.
today.
It's all right, dude. I bought a pass from Wooly. I can
Yeah.
say.
No. But anyway, yeah. So let's continue on.
Linked to this pervasive cosmic horror that lurks beyond space and time, and the strange cultists that worship these strange and dark powers. Now, since Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter became movies, fantasy has become a lot more mainstream, but when you're introducing people to role-playing and you're telling them it's a fantasy game, there's a lot of different flavours of fantasy which can be quite difficult to convey. Are you talking about the sweeping heroism of Lord of the Rings, or the brutal and bloody politics of Game of Thrones? It's not always easy to break that down. And with Dungeons and Dragons, there are so many different versions of the same game, and so many different versions of what this fantasy is. Even if you took the most default assumptions about kicking indoors, killing monsters, and taking treasure, it sounds like you're describing more like a video game or a board game, which can be fine. You can have a lot of fun playing it as a board game in that style. But if you want to introduce people into an immersive role-playing game experience, I don't think Dungeons and Dragons is necessarily the easiest place to start, because you have to describe what world you're setting in, what the society's like, who the people are, what an elf or a dwarf is. It can be quite difficult to explain of those things, as well as the concepts of
fair,
rules.
but
It is and it isn't, because the world we live in is so mainstream fantasy.
yeah.
Like I understand his point is, like, if you were to tell this to like a child, right?
Yeah.
Even a child knows what it is like these days.
Yeah.
And in fact, a child will probably be more likely to be able to tell you the difference between a dragon and a wyvern than a salaryman.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
But even the salaryman will know, oh, I know what an elf is, I know what a dwarf is.
Yeah,
because
dwarves are Irish stereotypes, and they like beer, right?
Right.
And then you're like,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Well, you go like Scottish, but sure. And you know, then you go to somebody else and they go, yeah, I know what stunties is, and elves are just stunties but bigger.
Yeah.
So, but it's one of those things where I think that this point kind of falls flat just because of the society we live in now.
Yeah. I agree.
Where Lord of the Rings and its subsequent merch are available everywhere.
And
case in point, the Middle Earth map behind.
I was gonna say, yeah,
guys.
Like fucking Lord of the Rings is one of the most successful fantasy movies of all time.
Franchises,
yeah,
really.
Yeah, franchise, yeah, more so. But because it's good.
Yeah,
and everybody who saw it was like, it's good.
Yeah.
Everyone's seen the goblins at the bank in Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows what a Pegasus or a unicorn is, or a giant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because some of those are, like, some things that are pretty fucking ubiquitous, like giant.
Yeah.
It's someone who is giant.
It's big guy.
Yeah.
And conversely, knowing what a Shoggoth is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is a bit less common.
Yeah,
exactly.
And here's one of the other things that kind of runs against the point that he's making. It's easy to describe the world in which Call of Cthulhu would take place, but it is so much easier to describe a dragon than it is to describe a fucking Chthonian.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, like, whoa.
Absolutely. And again, like, legitimately, if he goes to McDonald's, he'll see some sort of fantasy element there, right? Because fucking it doesn't matter. Like, literally from childhood, you see these toys that are just all fantasy stuff.
Yeah,
it's
because
not,
fantasy is cool.
It is really cool, but I'm just saying, like, it's not, like, the only real hardship that you're gonna have is describing your terrain, I suppose. Like, your world's, like, actual climate and all that shit, and, like, yes, the politics, that is somewhat important, so you need to create that whole world building, right? You need to actually like flesh that out enough so that people understand that this is the system, we have the castes, or we have some sort of democracy, or we have some sort of monarchy, like any of that stuff.
People know that a Viscount ranks over a Duke.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
is it a Viscount or a Viscount?
I've heard both.
Yeah, they're fine.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
And like, or the finer points of sailing, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's plenty of stuff that is going to be unfamiliar to the, I guess
average
you'd say, the tabletop newbie.
Yeah.
Or fantasy newbie.
Yeah.
But like, it's a lot easier to describe sailors pulling on ropes than like, oh, there's a barrel-shaped alien from whom 5 arms, like the spokes of a wheel, spread out and curve slightly upward, and it has tiny little feet and a beak.
Yes, exactly. But the what I will say is that yes, it is easier to describe the world. Because again, you can just go
because it's just the world.
You Google picture of 1920s and you'll find several black and white photos and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like you'll find photos and people will be like, "Oh, okay, I know. Yeah, I got that."
Yeah.
And like
here's the other thing.
Easy.
Just watch the fucking The Untouchables and you're good.
Yeah. The Untouchables, wait.
Al Capone.
Right.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And yeah, there's that stuff too. But yeah, I was gonna say like, I think he goes into it a little bit more, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Conversely, people are familiar with this world, and even if they've not got any real knowledge of the 1920s, they can certainly imagine it, seeing stills or images from period costume dramas and that sort of thing. They're also, I imagine, familiar with the horror genre, a very popular movie genre, a very popular fiction genre. So it's not something that's very difficult to grasp. And they are familiar with procedural investigations. Crime investigation shows are very popular. So these things, I don't think, are as challenging to explain to people. Mm-hmm. If you told them you were going to do something in the 1920s involving investigating a murder or a mystery with some paranormal elements in it and an overall horror theme, for me, that sounds like it's a little bit easier to convey.
I wouldn't say so.
I agree, actually.
Oh, you think?
I agree that it's easy if you simplify it down to that degree, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're just kind of not saying like you're saying at least that there are some supernatural elements, but you're not really saying much about that. Right.
Yeah, you're not really saying enough. You need to like.
So there's a degree that I would say that if you just say that there are some supernatural elements, you are kind of doing a catch-all because ghouls, fucking ghosts, fucking vampires, all that shit. Those things are real in like the Cthulhu mythos, right? They're there and people will be like, oh, okay, that's a thing. But then you also got the cosmic shit that is stuff that is even so far beyond the comprehension that you can't really describe it.
Angles that are acute yet behave as if they were obtuse.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fucking.
You've got weird shit going on too, and if you don't kind of convey that, then that's gonna like to be fair, it's a good twist, right? It's a good surprise. But if you don't prepare someone for that, I don't know, because
it's like one of two things will happen. It's either they won't be prepared for it, and so they won't really think it's going to be anything more than like. If you're saying like, oh, it's set in the 1920s and you're solving a murder mystery and there's some paranormal shit, they might think it's like, oh, okay, we'll solve a thing and then there might be like a ghost or something like that. As opposed to
some jilted lover who is now a ghost and is haunting a house. Ooh,
and
spooky.
then
What is this, Ghostbusters?
Yeah, exactly. And so you might wind up, if people think that, they might not be interested enough.
Yeah,
because it's like that can be a little bit interesting, but if that's all that you're given and you don't know anything about Call of Cthulhu, then you don't really you know,
you don't know what you're getting into, really.
Yeah, and then you kind of need to explain it more.
So 2 complete side notes.
Sure.
The first of which is I've been trying to figure out like what this guy reminded me of.
Okay.
And it's partially because the accent is the same, but whereas How to Be a Great GM is Great Value brand mac and cheese, this guy is Kraft.
Oh.
Interesting.
Okay.
Secondly.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he is brand name.
Yeah.
Great GM.
What a kind thing to say. in a backhanded compliment sort of way.
It's what I specialize in.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Oh, hey, you look a lot better than you did last week. And the person's
it's like, great, maybe.
Thanks? Question mark.
I'll get back to you on that.
And the second thing was I now want to make a Call of Cthulhu character who is a blatant ripoff of Ghostbusters. And like everyone else is like, oh, I sacrificed time with my family and my wife and child to look after this. And meanwhile, like there's just my character who would be essentially the party bard who is like totally buying into the ghosts and everything. And he's like, Bustin' makes me feel good.
Just kind of this happy-go-lucky character.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I would take great pleasure in torturing.
Break that man. Insane. Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
You
are not making it out.
What happens when the happy facade drops?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah.
The other thing is that you don't actually need to have any familiarity with the overarching Cthulhu mythos, the mythology and the background behind the setting to understand or play the game. In fact, I believe Call of Cthulhu is a better game if you have little or no experience of the supernatural horrors that are going on behind the background.
I would say so.
Yeah.
It makes it a stronger game for it. So
it's one of those catch-22s of like trying to introduce this to people that don't know exactly what it is, right? Because you want that niche of people who are into the horror, who are into this kind of horror, right? But you also don't want to give too much away, and if they're super familiar with it, like we're super familiar with the mythos, but it doesn't detract from it, right? Yeah. Which is good. Yeah. But I feel like it's one of those things where if you aren't, but you're a budding kind of horror fan, then it could appeal to you, but it also couldn't, right? Because there are many different types of horror, and some people like it when the loud noise happens and they get that slight rise in heart rate for a second. Like that's their idea of horror, and I go, that's not. But that's another conversation entirely.
Yeah, that's a whole other
that I've had many times.
That's a whole other can of dolls. None of you know what that is, maybe. I don't know.
What's that movie franchise? It's got there's like that famous image of like the woman, and behind her is like the demon, and its face is black and like painted red.
Insidious? No, that's the child.
Insidious.
Is it? Oh, okay. That's the child, right?
Hold on, let me. Insidious demon. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the demon wants the kid.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
Oh yeah, and it was behind the husband. That's right. And he has to like astral project and. Like...
Yeah, it's apparently people like it, and I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I saw the first movie and I was like, this is okay. And then I heard that there's like all the others that they're making.
There's like an Insidious universe, and I'm like, whatever.
Because now everybody has to have a fucking cinematic universe to make money, so.
Well, it could be okay, but it never really is.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. Hey, dude, don't worry. The Dooku will save us.
The Dooku?
Or is it? Yeah, I think it's the dark universe,
the dark universe
cinematic universe.
Yeah, with the mummy and no one else yet.
Remember when they tried to make the mummy again?
Yep, and it didn't fucking work.
I saw that one.
Remember when they made Dracula Untold? Oh. Remember when the answer was to blindfold your soul? I hate it. Anyway, sorry.
And then they made fucking Color Out of Space a movie, and apparently it was good.
I haven't seen it yet. I really want to. Nick Cage is in it, and I'm so excited.
I know.
Yeah, it's been out for a while.
It's been out for a long time.
Yeah, I know.
Apparently, and I'm so happy. Apparently, it was good.
Yeah, apparently
that's
it was
all
good.
I hoped
The
for.
trailers made it look super good, and then Boo, you were all like, I don't know, and I'm like, dude, are you kidding me?
Oh no, here's the thing. I'm just so jaded by Hollywood now.
As you should be.
I want things to be good.
Yes.
I just expect them to be bad.
Yes.
That's the thing.
I'm usually fairly good at like parsing through trailers, and like even when other people are like, "Oh, this is good," I'm like, "Nah, look at the trailer; it's gonna be shit."
And
then people are like, "Oh, the trailers made it look so good." And I'm like,
I try to go in with a neutrality, but sometimes I'll go in with a bad, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Unless it's Godzilla. And in which case, just give me monsters fighting for 3.5 hours and maybe half an hour.
Exactly. All I need is the monsters fighting. Please don't.
Yeah, that's all I seriously need.
I just need to see Godzilla melt a building, please.
Yes,
that's
all I need.
Can we go back to the time when Godzilla and the other monsters could fucking talk to each other? Then we could have our human characters in Godzilla and Anguirus, and then no humans needed.
It would give me actually a reason to care about the dialogue.
Yeah, really.
All right, with fucking Godzilla talking with Anguirus and shit.
Oh, dude, 2 weeks after the last Godzilla movie came out, I'm part of like a Lovecraft group on Facebook.
Okay.
And they're like, "Is Godzilla Lovecraftian?"
What?
No,
because he's so much stronger than the armies of the Earth, and they could never hope to beat him.
It's not a cosmic.
And he lives in the sea, like Cthulhu do, and he lives really, really deep down.
That is so surface level.
It destroys a building.
Oh, I hate how surface level that is.
Dude, people post pictures of fucking cuttlefish and they'll be like, "Our new overlords," and I'm like, "Shut up."
This is why I don't have a Facebook.
Yeah.
Shit like this. It's like, oh, okay, I see. You heard about Cthulhu once and you're like, now I'm a fan. That's all you've done. Exactly. I see. Anyway, getting back to I've actually forgotten what his point was, unfortunately.
All right.
But the one before that, when he was talking about, I've lost my entire train. Anyway, okay.
The point that he had made was it's better if you're not familiar with the franchise.
Yes.
To which I had some thoughts on. It can help prevent metagaming.
Yes.
Where like the curiosity you feel is like not a character you're putting on, but like you are in your character's boots, and that can be cool.
Absolutely.
Like when Boo threw those blood-sucking frogs at us, and I'm like, what are these?
Yeah, totally.
That's why I have to get as many monster books as I fucking can.
Well, the other
really like esoteric stuff.
The best part though is that you could just make up your own shit, and it could fit.
That's why it's so good.
Yeah, like quite literally, if you understand the themes of Lovecraft, if you understand the existential fucking horror, right? Like you understand all that shit, then you can make a Cthulhu, or sorry, a mythos creature.
One of the
it is a bit difficult to make a Cthulhu.
Yes,
absolutely.
To something in D&D, because in D&D you were given a creature and a stat block.
Yeah,
you were told to have fun, and you can mix and match those. Like you can make an owlbear burrow like a bullet if you want.
Sure, yeah,
cool.
There's no reason you couldn't, and in fact, I'm now considering adding it to a campaign.
I seem to have inspired myself.
I am my muse. And whereas you have fucking! I always go back to the barrel-shaped ones.
Elder Things.
Yeah,
Elder Things. They're that are a bit more established and
yes, absolutely. But again, like you could just make something work. Honestly, like you have to basically, I would say, like make it a thing, make it like something that's gonna be a threat, and then make some way that you can either ward it off, like send it away for now, right? Or just like you could eliminate it, but there could be more, right? Like it's one of those things where if you even get to a point where you can kill it, then you have to throw that curveball. You have to throw that curveball of like, oh yeah, good job. That's one.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to do it. There's a few ways to do it. You have to either do like what you said. You kill it, and then you're like you're going through a cave, and there's a monster. Okay, I shoot it in the head. Okay, okay, you fucking killed it. And now as you continue through the cave, the floor collapses out from beneath you, and you hear more moaning and footsteps behind you. And as you run down the hall towards the light, you see scattered all across the room thousands and thousands of eggs, and they're translucent, and you can see tiny fetus-like versions of what you just killed. You know, and so it's like, oh shit. It's like finding a Skaven Undercity. It's like, totally. I didn't realize you were all down here.
I don't know how the Skaven haven't made it, or like
it's the infighting.
Totally not Skaven. Brand Skaven haven't made it into D&D.
Oh yeah, make something like that into D&D. Oh, absolutely.
Well, I mean, hilariously, I have a fucking book that has stats for rat guys. And so you could just basically just use those stats and put them in there. And then, I mean, hell, I have a friend that I work with who put a rat ogre in his game and basically a copy paste of Snitch in his campaign.
I was talking to one of my players last week, and I was like, I've been playing a lot of Total War Warhammer 2 lately, and they got a lot of cool stuff in there, and it's been inspiring me for the campaign. Did you know that they have rat ogres? And his eyes widened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they run like gorillas, and they're like 8 feet tall, and they can like pick up a person and throw them into a tree. And like I see concern starting to like blossom on his face. And I'm like, don't worry, I wouldn't throw a rat ogre at you guys because I've told you about it. Oh.
That's always one of my favorite things to say. Something like that.
The other thing that let's try to bring it back around here.
You're just having too much fun talking about.
Oh no, I'm glad. I really am, and I'm good with us going on tangents as always. But I do want to continue with the video.
Yeah, let's get the video out of the way so we can just talk about shit.
This is only one video. Oh my god. And it's only 6 minutes or 7 minutes. No. Come on. It's great.
Imagine this. You've got some friends round for a board game night or a dinner party or whatever your social class allows for. And you crack out the Call of Cthulhu starter set, which in my opinion is the best starter set you can get as well, which helps with my thesis. You don't mention goblins or wizards or anything like that. You ask them to picture a sleepy New England town, a creepy-looking mansion on a windswept hill overlooking an ancient forest, an eccentric aristocrat who's just come back from a strange journey abroad, and an invitation to a dinner party he's hosting at his mansion. You ask the players to come up with the sort of characters who'd be invited to that dinner party in the 1920s. A journalist, a private investigator, a wealthy heiress, a lawyer, a professor, a two-fisted archaeologist. You then use the streamlined character creation rules presented in the core rulebook or in the starter set to have them build those characters, or you can even use the pre-made characters if you prefer. You dim the lights, you crank up the old-timey jazz, and you tell them that this is a collaborative story of mystery and horror. You tell them that you're going to describe scenes and act out dialogues from various characters, and they're going to respond to those in a way that they believe their characters will. You tell them that if they've picked some skills for this character, then they'll help them succeed at those mysteries, perhaps saying that they'll automatically find clues. But if it's uncertain if they will unravel a clue using a skill, you'll roll some dice, and depending on that, they might succeed or fail. And before you know it, they're playing Call of Cthulhu. What's more, hopefully they're getting invested in the story, in the experience. The rules hover somewhere in the background, and you can bring them out and slowly introduce them if you need.
So, counterpoint to all this, unfortunately, I gotta say, D&D has the same kind of thing. It has its starter sets, it has fucking Lost Mines of Phandelver is like the starter set. Has its pre-gens, has all that stuff. You literally can sit people around the dinner table, whatever table, like whatever your social class is doing, right?
Yep.
Very, very interesting way to put that. I understand what you're saying, but I've never heard people talk about it like that.
Nah, dude, the real starter set for D&D is Waterdeep.
But legitimately, you do all this, and you can. And again, like I've said, the popular consciousness knows what elves are. They know what goblins are. They know what fantasy is, and you can have the rules in the background and all of this stuff, and you can literally be like, okay, you're gonna be a wizard, and you're gonna be a paladin, and you're gonna be like that. Requires a little bit more explaining, I guess. The actual classes, but at the same time, you also have the option of the pre-generated characters, like he said for this one too. So, and they kind of have everything that you need to know on that sheet. Plus, I guess as well, like armor. So I guess it's a little bit more that you have to explain for D&D just because of armor and how fighting works. It's a whole different beast when you get to it, but to be fair, you don't have to really worry about armor, weapons, spells until you get to a point that they're required, I suppose.
Now,
go on.
I would to counter or as counter, there are three things that I would say that Call of Cthulhu does make a bit easier. Actually, no, four. One, in Call of Cthulhu, whenever you're rolling a skill or anything like that, it's always a D100.
Well, it's always.
And I realize that in D&D, it's always pretty much a D20.
Yeah.
But in Call of Cthulhu, pretty much any roll other than damage is D100.
That is true.
So it is slightly less dice. Two, with the classes. They all have different skills. They all have different access to different magics, and they all have the different hit die and all that. So you need more dice for that. So it's more dice to remember. Three, when you pick a cleric or a paladin, or not a paladin, a cleric or a druid or a wizard, there's all the spell learning and learning. Like, I mean, hell, even I still have trouble fucking remembering what spells that I can take and which ones I need to get rid of, etc., etc. And then 4, in Cthulhu, in the beginning, you don't have any access to spells. You get them very, very piecemeal. You get them like one at a time. And so I can understand why Call of Cthulhu can be better, because in the beginning, it's much easier to just kind of jump in. Whereas with D&D, when you get in, you have a lot of dice to roll. You got a lot of things to remember.
It's true. It is true. You
are
correct.
That's my main argument for Call of Cthulhu, just being a tad bit easier to get into for a first time.
And I would say so. That's true.
There's also the absence of classes.
Yes, that too,
it is more just
is no
profession.
Classes.
Yeah,
it's profession, and the professions don't affect your stats in any way.
Well,
no, they don't. You have to have.
They don't affect your stats, but they affect your like cash and your.
Yes, that's it. And so your
skill choices.
Yes, that's true. I forgot about that. The professions in Call of Cthulhu, your skills are... Well, actually, no. I remember now. You have skills for those... for each of those classes, but you also have free skill points that you can put into anything.
I know. Yeah, no, I know that. Yeah. It's just one of those things of you still have those skills, and you have to know what all the skills are, to be fair.
Exactly.
Which I would hope that they have sheets and stuff for that.
Yeah, they've got sheets, and the keeper there to explain it. Hopefully,
I would also say, just as a little addendum, personally, maybe it's because just about every player I've had is new to D&D. But I've gotten pretty good at really quickly running through the races, or not races, the classes in D&D in like 1 to maybe 2 sentences at most.
Nice.
It's
fighter, he fight.
Yeah, no.
Barbarian, no talk me, I'm Angie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's necessary to go too in depth into the classes of D&D. It can be like it can be, you can go to a guy and go, hey, do you want to use magic? Do you want to fight? Magic is a little complex. And they'll go, I guess I'll fight. And then you go, okay, what kind of fighting do you want to do? What kind of weapon would you want to use? And then you go,
exactly.
It's not that hard to streamline it. And so
absolutely.
I will say that I personally have always preferred D100 skill systems. In my role-playing games. I like the idea of getting underneath the number.
And just having a percentage chance.
Yes, that is something that is a little different from any other role-playing game. No, actually, that's not true. In second edition of Dungeons and Dragons, you had to get underneath, and it had percentile skills.
Not to mention in D&D, like if you're making a very, very like difficult and or very specific role, you can always just call for a percentile.
It's true.
If you want to, like, I want to leap across that cliff. It's like, okay, well,
yeah.
I mean, you could either make it. I mean, I guess you could just do jump.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you got your athletics and stuff. They have their things. They have their skills, and so I guess older editions also had this where you had a lot of skills and you got to choose. Because I remember looking through the 2E stuff and seeing there's a shit ton of skills and they're all percentage based.
Cool.
But
I mean, conversely though, there's no functional difference between rolling under a certain percentage and rolling over a certain number with a D20. It's like AC versus THAC0.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
There isn't a functional difference, but brain hurty when need to think go down good. Right? Like, when go up is good, but down is bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things, whereas more, I like that idea, just for skills. For anything else, I'm like, up good. But for skills, I'm like, down good. I like down. It's just weird. It depends on the system as well, because, like, with D&D, I'm now trained to go up good because I started with it, and I'm like, up good. Exactly. Always up good.
It was a bit easier for me because I always thought big number equal big good.
I mean, most people do.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that is easier to do.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that I really, really love about Call of Cthulhu, even like this is also like it can go on to this as well. In Call of Cthulhu, there's no levels. You don't level up.
Yep, that's true. That is true.
You start at level. I mean, hell, you don't even start with a level.
Yeah, you just start,
and you just get better as you do things.
Yeah, that is the cool thing.
I love that.
For those who don't know, in Call of Cthulhu, when you use a skill successfully, you put a check next to them, and then whenever your keeper is like, "Hey, let's have it so that you guys roll out if you can improve your skills." Basically, usually at an end point somewhere, or like the end of the session, right?
Yeah, if you're sleeping or you're like resting or you're in jail or
exactly. any sort of long interval of time after you've done a bunch of shit. And then you roll, and then this is when number go up good, which is a little weird.
That's a little weird,
right? But I understand it because it's harder and harder to get better at something. Yeah. For some reason as well. Wait, but wouldn't it be kind of easy? Anyway, fuck it.
It's easy to start getting better. It's hard to keep getting better.
Yes, exactly. It's hard to.
Yeah, it's hard to master something.
Yes, exactly.
That's what it is.
It's hard to become a master at something. But so you roll up, above whatever your skill is, which is very easy to do at some points if you have a shit skill.
Yes.
But then if you roll above it and you succeed, then you can roll a d10 and just add that to the skill.
Yes.
And that's
so you get
super
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, and so over the course of the campaign, it's not leveling up by gaining experience. It's just slowly but surely increasing your aptitude at certain things. And so it's really, really cool. And one of my favorite things is that I think, again, if you botch, if you get a 1 on your D100, I think it's
1 is a success. It's 95 to 100, which is a fumble.
Right, my bad. If you get I want to say like a 97 to a 99, it's a guaranteed failure. And then if it's a 1, it's like a crit fail or something. Or maybe it's the other way around. I don't remember.
No, one is a crit success.
Yeah. 1 is good.
Yes.
100 is bad. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I'm fucking mixing this up because we're playing D&D.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, it's like 97 to 100 is a crit fail or something. But what's funny is that with the crit fail, even if you crit fail, you still get a check.
Oh, yeah. You learn from your mistakes.
Really fucking weird. It's like you fucked up so bad. It's like, maybe I should learn from this.
Yeah, exactly. It actually it helps represent life, really, I would say.
Yeah.
It's just like, I fucked up real bad that day. Maybe I should think on that and maybe not do that again.
Yeah, it's great. It's like, oh man, I fucking slipped off this ladder and fucking broke my arm. Maybe I shouldn't slip off ladders anymore.
Maybe next time I will not squeeze lemon juice into my eyes before looking through binoculars.
Why would I not do that?
Is that how you concept? Is that how you use binoculars? Shit.
No. You're supposed to squeeze the lemon juice in. It's necessary.
Oh wait, no. You're supposed to pour the lime juice. Oh.
No, you're supposed to put the lemon juice in the little divots of like the lenses
on
the binoculars, and then that way when you put it up to your eye, the lemon juice just like pours into your eye.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Anyway,
but the other thing that I very much enjoy about the skill system in Call of Cthulhu is the degrees of success.
Yes, success, crit success, extreme success. Oh no. So success. What was the third one?
I don't remember what the middle one is, but
something,
and then
extreme success, and then crit success.
Yeah.
I forget the other one. Fuck.
So basically, it just boils down to you have your regular skill, and then if you roll under that, then you're good, right?
Yeah.
But then there's the half of that skill. If you roll, so like say you have a 14 in something, and then your half would be a 7.
Yeah.
And then your extreme is a third, I think, or
yeah, it's like a quarter, and then the crit success is a 1.
Exactly. And so if you succeed on something by a lot, so like if you get instead of just under 14, you get under the 7, you succeed even better than you did before.
Yeah, and so like
which
it's
is
like,
really cool.
I want to fix this radio and be like, okay, you got a 13. Okay, the radio works. You got a 7. Okay, you fix the radio and you actually manipulate it in such a way that the signal is boosted.
Yeah, you start picking up different kinds of signals that you didn't know were there before.
Love that shit.
Yeah, it's stuff like that, which is really neat, and it's not hard to translate that over to like something like D&D, right? Where you have these kind of set DCs, and then if they exceed it by a lot, then you'd be like, whoa, fuck, right?
Yeah,
nat 20 and stuff.
Yeah, that's something I tend to implement in my games.
Sure. Yeah.
There's the DC for a task is the baseline. Do you succeed? But then there's also other various DCs for how badly do you fail and how well do you succeed.
It's just like a lot of instances in where there is information in a room from a perception check that you could get that's like base like 15, and then at 20 if you got a 20 you get more, and then at 25 you get more, and if you crit or get 30, right, you'll get a bunch of information that you wouldn't see otherwise, which is cool, and I appreciate that they do that. They have that little listing in there. I think that's in the player's handbook, or not the player's handbook, but the DMG or something. It's somewhere in the rules. But I also like the idea of having that on a sheet and having it be like, hey, guess what? You have a visual representation of how you can be real fucking good.
Yeah.
Right? I like that incentive of like, I really want to get this because I know that it'll be something cool. I hope it's something really interesting that happens because I did this. Where it's more of a reminder that you can be even better than you are, I guess.
Yeah. And then I think one of the things that is worth noting is that I think I did it wrong the first time we played, but one of the things that happened was you guys knew about the whole you succeed on the skill check and then you get a check.
Right.
It's worth noting that in an effort to make it so that people don't game that system, the book specifically says that you can make it so that it's I forget if it's an actual rule or if it's a suggestion. But it says that you can make it so that the skill checks, like the check on your skill, can only come about if you succeed a skill check that the keeper called for.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's
that way
fair.
you can't be like, I want to use hand-to-hand and punch the wall. Okay, you do it. Okay, add a check. You know that.
Right. There's no way to
people
game
can't
the
just be
system.
like, oh, I want to use all my skill,
Yeah. And that's totally fair.
Yeah, that is, I was going to say, regarding the skill system in Call of Cthulhu, I absolutely love the fact that the more you use a skill, the better you get at it.
Well, the more you succeed at it and do it.
But I have always had that concern of like, well, I could just like have like a mental checklist of every session. Okay, I've got to use this skill. I've got to use this skill. I've got to use this skill.
Yeah.
If you're going to try to metagame it.
Yeah, but
but that rule is in place to stop that.
Yes.
Yeah, I would highly, if that's not a rule and just a suggestion, then I would highly recommend that everyone do that.
Yeah, I think it's a rule. I'd have to find it again, and I have no fucking idea where it is in the book.
That's fair.
Though.
That is fair enough. Hey, you out there, find it. Anyway, so that is something that I think is miles better than what D&D 5e has implemented, unfortunately, with their skills.
Because it's just you just use it.
Well, it is you just use it, but I mean also just the progression, because it takes until level 5 before you even see any progress in that skill, because of your proficiency, right? Your proficiency doesn't go up by 1 for every skill, to be fair, but it is 1 to everything after 5 levels, which could be a long time.
Yeah, especially if you're doing like actual experience and not like milestones.
Exactly.
Like, holy shit.
Whereas like what we're doing in 3.5, they had the system of ranks where you get them every time you level, which is a little less spaced out. But it is still like one of those things of, I'm using this all the time. Am I not getting better at it? Right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like it's yes.
Yes.
I don't fucking know. I lost my train of thought.
I understand. And like it's just one of those things. Anyway, let's close out this video.
Yeah.
Need to. Or you could hand wave them entirely, but they're enjoying themselves, investigating, unraveling something strange and uncanny going on, feeling the dread and the horror that's building around them. And once they've figured out that you've tricked them into role-playing, hopefully some of them, hopefully all of them, will want to go a little bit deeper into the experience, maybe playing more Call of Cthulhu, using more of the rules, or maybe a different game like Zweihander or Cyberpunk or Modern Age. At that point, you've got them invested in the idea of it, and you should find it easier introducing them to other styles and other genres and even the rules of those games. But it all starts with Call of Cthulhu. Now, I know this won't work for every group, but I'm certain it'll work for a fair few. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think the best introduction to role-playing games would be. Am I wrong to dismiss Dungeons & Dragons? Doesn't matter what the game is, as long as the game master can present it in an engaging and dynamic way. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your opinion.
Okay, yeah.
You were wrong to dismiss it wholesale.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I honestly think that you can you can honestly look at D&D and your interpretation of how Call of Cthulhu you can do this same thing like with D&D. Like,
absolutely.
I don't see why it would be one or the other. I especially when they have the simplistic rule set that is for the starter stuff.
Yeah.
In both, right?
Yeah.
Like, they are literally made to, if you are using that, even if you're using either the Keeper's Guide or the fucking Player's Handbook, if you're using the full rule set, it is not hard to streamline that shit for either, I would say. So
especially in 5e.
Especially in 5e now. And this was a 2020, this was like pretty recent, this video. So I don't know. I don't know how much experience this guy has with D&D. I didn't look too deep into his channel, but
he does also have, I was thinking the same, but I didn't mention it because he also literally has a recommended video saying, in defense of the bards in seduction and RPGs, fixing D&D. So my guess would probably be he has a fair amount of experience in both.
Yeah. So again, I don't know. I feel like you could make the argument for both, and like, I'm fine with both, honestly. Like, there's nothing.
Exactly.
I don't think there's anything wrong with seeing one as better over the other. It just depends on you and the people that you know, I would say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Find something that works for your table.
Exactly. But yeah, that was the first video.
Yep, and we spent like fucking 90% of it just talking about other shit.
I mean, to be fair, it's stuff that's kind of important for thinking about Cthulhu.
So now
today.
What was the next video?
We have so I had two choices. Which I think the next one, the logical progression here would be the D&D versus Call of Cthulhu video.
Okay.
Actually.
Now, here's the thing. I don't know, like, I'm going to be really selfish right now. Can you try to find a video that talks about Cthulhu insanity? Because fuck, I want to talk about insanity.
We can just talk about insanity.
I love insanity.
Oh, absolutely. We can just talk about insanity. Let's just take an intermission here because I have had to piss for a while.
Okay.
But after that, we can talk about insanity for a while. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll get the insanity table.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely. All right.
Nope.
Although,
when in the last video when he mentioned Zweihander, I went,
What's Zweihander? I've never even heard of that.
It's RPG Pundits, TTRPG.
Oh! Yeah. Why would you mention Zweihander?
It might be okay. I don't know.
I hope.
I assume
he was consulted.
He was. I assume it reads better than his words.
That's hard to read.
Words. You can have a solid understanding of TTRPG mechanics and still not have any idea how to make a good story.
Exactly. Yes, it's true.
It's true.
Yeah, to be fair, you don't need to make a story in order to write the rule set.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But then the rules are probably like fucking, be sure that your campaigns are always 600 years apart.
Right, because otherwise, I mean, man.
You can only have 2 stories in that time, so fucking use them wisely, you son of a bitch.
Use your stories wisely. Oh my god.
I would like to cash in a story token.
No.
I mean, it is very possible that he could say, you guys aren't storytellers, use only the stories that I make for you.
Yeah.
I was insulted.
It's true, yeah.
So, if I may, one of the
welcome back, by the way. We're here.
Yeah. So Call of Cthulhu, this is literally the first page of the book.
Sure.
It just has like some of the writers. So Call of Cthulhu, originally written by Sandy Peterson. Love you, Sandy.
Thanks, Sandy.
With later revision by Lynn Willis. And then the 7th edition is a collaboration between Mike Mason and Paul Fricker.
Oh, frick!
What the frick? Frick, man! Freaking Call of Cthulhu is so good! We're gonna talk about freaking insanity now! Oh my god, I love it. Don't worry, I'm not making fun of his name. It's honestly a great name. Sanity. There's a whole fucking chapter. Yeah, boy. Yeah. So now here's one of my things that I don't like about 7th edition. Although, it's really just word use.
Mm-hmm.
I think I own the rulebook for 5th edition Call of Cthulhu. I think. But in 5th edition, you can go, or in all of Call of Cthulhu games, you can go insane.
Right.
And it will most likely happen a fair amount of times, as long as you're actually doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And please do that. Depending on the situation, you can usually have your insanity manifest in ways that are related to said situation. So, an example that comes to mind is, say your character's walking through like a fucking tomb or something, and there's like a thin bridge, and it's not a long fall. You fall off and you fall into like a pit of like fucking like worms and roaches and shit and like nasty bugs, and they don't hurt you, but they're all fucking over you. And then you have a psychotic break, and all of a sudden, because of the feeling of those bugs all over you and like inside your skin and crawling, you get a phobia of clothing.
Oh, okay.
And so there is an actual phobia of clothing.
Yeah, I remember seeing in another video that I watched, I think it was the one that I posted initially, that was just talking about the system. I remember seeing there was like a D100 table of phobias.
Yes, there is.
And I saw one of them being, I think it was, what was it? Fear of vegetables. That was a thing.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, and I was just like, huh, interesting.
And so if you have the Call of Cthulhu 7th edition Keeper's Handbook, page 160 and 161. Now, what I was going to say previously was, you can have your phobias manifest as a result of what happens, but there are also tables that you can just do randomly, which doesn't really make any sense. But if nothing really jumps to mind, you can do this.
It can be something that, I mean, to be fair, a mental break can just, I assume, I've never had one, to be fair.
Yeah, but me neither.
I assume that it could manifest as something completely different.
Yeah, it could, but regardless, there are 2 tables in each of the Keeper's Handbooks.
Right.
And here's my problem with 7th edition. It's just word use. And when I run my campaign in the future, like way off in the future, I intend to change this. In the 7th edition, there is a table for sample phobias and then sample manias.
Okay.
This is different in 5th edition. In 5th edition, there are sample phobias and sample fetishes. And so that's a lot more interesting. Instead of being afraid of clothing, you're turned on by having clothing on. And so instead of getting a fear of those bugs, you have a psychotic break and you get turned on by it. That's significantly more fucked up. And I love that to death.
Yeah. I mean,
and then here's the other thing. So they're mirrored as well. So you have the phobia. So fear of chickens.
Oh.
And then fetish for chickens.
Guys, let's go to KFC again.
Yeah. Fear of flowers. Fear of people with amputations.
Okay. Yep.
Fear. Okay. Fear of bacteria. It's like, oh man, roll around in the dirt.
Make me dirty.
Fear of clocks.
Yeah, I mean. That's the thing. Anything could be either a fear or a fetish.
A good old. I'll never blame a dude for liking himself a good old 1 hertz signal.
Here's one which would be really fucked up, and you could so easily make a serial killer out of this. Yep. Fear of teeth.
Ooh.
Odontophobia.
Yeah. I think
you could totally have a serial killer out of that.
I mean, you then just pull out all of your own teeth. Like
and then like, oh man, I'm all out of teeth. I need to go get some more.
Something weird.
Yeah, it's fucking great, and I love it. Oh!
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hard cut to an X-ray of a man with 47 teeth up his rectum.
Yep.
It's so good. I love Call of Cthulhu so much.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
And again, like quite literally anything could be either way, right? Like,
yeah,
anything.
And then, so that's one of the things about. That's one of the major things with insanity, where these are technically for is it indefinite insanity? Because they're here we go. Yeah.
It can't be temporary.
It's not temporary. There are 3 different kinds of insanity in Call of Cthulhu. There's temporary insanity, which basically just means that you are insane for the effects of temporary insanity begin immediately and last for 1d10 hours. So not that bad, really.
A mania.
Yeah. And temporary insanity is basically like you're basically just insensate or inconsolable. You know, you're in a fetal position
to become catatonic.
Yeah, exactly. Or you fucking run off into the night and fucking like try to bury yourself in a hole to hide. Then you have indefinite insanity. What? This is the one that has those manias and phobias,
right,
or fetishes.
Right.
Let's see. How long? Wait a minute. What? Oh, that was in 5th edition. Okay. What the fuck? That's some bullshit. Oh, wait a minute. 164. How long does it? I know it lasts longer than that. I know it does. Oh, I hit my mic.
You're okay.
You're
fucking it up, man.
Yeah.
The whole production's ruined. Go on.
What the? Oh, okay. So basically, indefinite insanity is kind of up to the keeper because it's more or less something that needs like actual, potentially not institutionalization, but more or less like careful and gentle care.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you can just put yourself in an institution if you really want.
Oh, you can. You absolutely can.
Which helps you recover your sanity and stuff.
Depends on the institution.
Absolutely. But its purpose is to attempt to
in the 20s it's more of an attempt. But my thing
pump him full of laudanum, put him in a straitjacket.
He'll be fine by tomorrow. And by tomorrow, I mean 30 years from now, maybe.
Yeah. But the thing is, in 5th edition, I prefer this, where indefinite insanity in 7th edition is basically you have it until you're cured.
That's what indefinite
or
means.
You recover. Indefinite insanity, excuse me, in 5th edition, it lasts 1d6 months. And you can lessen that time with treatment. It's not just, okay, boop, you're done. You know. Although obviously when you go indefinite insanity, you're gonna have some sort of a lasting effect.
Right.
At least rules as written, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then permanent insanity is basically you're just insane forever and you're fucked.
Well, yeah, that's you're dead, basically.
Yeah, that's you're dead through insanity.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say honestly with the indefinite stuff, I understand and would be okay with it being like you just have it for until you're cured, because that's literally the definition of the word indefinite.
Oh, I know, but I just like having
literally, but you know.
Yeah, but well, here's the thing: 6 months of in-game time is like God knows how many sessions.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
And so I kind of
I don't know. I'm fine with either way, to be fair.
Yeah,
but honestly,
I think I just kind of like the idea. It's like, oh, you read the first one. It's like, oh, okay, this last one's 1d10 hours. That's not too bad. Indefinite. 1d6 months. You know, I just loved that.
Sure.
Like that huge fucking jump, and I'm like, oh shit, you don't want this.
Well, again, there's a huge jump of you have it until you're cured. Right?
It's true.
That's still a huge jump, and also, It kind of makes it sound more meaningful, I would say, if it's if it's until you're cured, because if it's just something that you can just lessen over time, then it's like, well, did that really do a lot to you? You know?
I guess that's true. I think maybe that was all the whole thing that I liked about it was that it's just a huge like 1d6 months thing. But yeah, no, honestly, thinking about it the way you're putting it, that does make more sense, and I actually do kind of like that.
Yeah, because it's like, hey, I went through this major trauma, and the scars of that trauma are going to be on my mind, scarred onto my very like being
psyche
until I seek fucking help.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, you know what? I retract my statement.
No need to retract, just amend.
Yeah. But yeah. And then one of the things that I like is the whenever you go insane, regardless of the type of insanity that you accrue, or whatever, what be it indefinite, permanent, or temporary, there are multiple phases of your insanity. And there are, I think it's just 2, really. Is it just 2? Oh no, there's a couple, but anyway, the first one is the bout of madness.
Okay,
and the bout of madness is let's see. Let's see here. On becoming insane, the investigator experiences a bout of madness. While experiencing a bout of madness, the investigator loses all self-control. In game terms, this means that control of the investigator is handed from the player to the keeper, and it is up to the keeper whether this control takes the form of dictating specific actions, or if it means giving the player guidelines on how to play out the madness, however long it may last.
Sure, yeah.
And then if you're in combat when it happens, it lasts 1d10 combat rounds.
Right, makes sense.
And this is one thing that's really interesting. Similar to D&D 5th edition, where you have like your what is it? It's like your flaws and your shit like that. Hang on, I need to look up a 5th edition sheet because I don't actually have
So 5e's flaws are just character traits, basically.
Yeah, it's like traits and flaws and all that stuff that not many people put in.
It's because they're like I've said before many a time, 5e's bonds, flaws,
that's it.
All that stuff, those are just guidelines, and they don't affect you at all if you don't like want them to, really. You just play your character how you play your character.
All you really need is a decent amount of fear.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. All you need is fear.
God damn it. Call of Cthulhu has got you covered on that, boy.
Cthulhu has that covered.
Oh, God damn it. So now, again, this is what one thing that's really interesting is that in Call of Cthulhu, you have a whole bunch of these things. You got way more than 5th edition D&D.
Oh, sure.
You have ideology and beliefs, significant people, meaningful locations, treasured possessions, traits, injuries and scars, phobias and manias, arcane tomes, spells, and artifacts, and encounters with strange entities. Anytime, and this is verbatim from the book, or each time an investigator suffers a bout of madness, the keeper may amend one of the investigator's backstory entries or add a new one.
Yes, that is one of the coolest things about Insanity.
Yeah, and so like
super down with my character going, well, my wife's name was I didn't have a wife. I've never been married.
Did I? Yeah.
Wait, was I married? Like, immediately completely forgetting about something that was near and dear to their goddamn heart. Because they saw something that just racked their mind so hard that they're just like, ah!
Yeah, or
I forgot my child.
You have like a Yeah, like a significant person. Like if you're like a dad or something.
It's fucking heartbreaking, but it's fucking cool.
Yeah. Let's see. It's like so you put in like a name basically for like significant people, and you may or may not put in a backstory for them, but it's interesting because the specific thing that they give for significant people is a new name might be added together with a reason for its inclusion. For example, can't rest until Delbert Smith is in his grave.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you can just add whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, it just becomes a whole new fucking thing for that character.
Yeah, and that's another great way you can implement plot that way.
Yeah, totally.
And that way, because your character goes insane, he starts screaming out this fucking name. It's like, who the fuck are you talking about? What did I say? And then you go investigate this guy. Turns out he's like a cult leader, and he's like part of the fucking thing that summoned this thing, and somehow through your insane shit, you just have a name.
The madman's insight.
Yeah, exactly.
Your connection to the insane eldritch thing, and that insane eldritch's thing connection to that guy. Shouting that guy.
Yeah. And so being able to change your players' characters is so cool.
It is cool, and it's one of those things that's it's definitely not for everyone, I would say.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Some people are like, my character, don't touch it.
I can understand that.
You wouldn't be playing Call of Cthulhu if you're like that,
that's honestly the thing. If you're trying to get into Call of Cthulhu, you need to, because in D&D, I have a big problem where I get really attached to my characters.
Oh, sure.
I put too much effort not too much effort. I put a lot of effort into my character's backstory, and then I get really attached to them, and I have a problem. I have a fucking problem. And I really don't want anything to happen to them.
As a role player, I get too attached to my characters and put too much work into them.
Yeah, like it's like putting in. It's like, oh man, I work. What are some flaws? I work too hard.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's the fucking
I love
interview.
This company too much. So another thing that's cool
is that one of my favorite things is tell me your greatest weakness. Those great big blue eyes of yours.
Well, interview's over.
I fucking hate
fired.
It. Interview's over. You're fired. So one of the things that's really useful and very nice is that on this same page, and by the way, the whole insanity thing, this is page 156 and 157.
There you go.
Table 7, the bouts of madness, real-time effects, and it's just a D10 table. So you just have a whole bunch of different things. So 1, amnesia. The investigator has no memory of the events that have taken place since they were in the last place of safety. So, for example, it seems to them that one moment they were eating breakfast and the next they're facing a monster. Either that or you actually no wait, that's a whole thing with sanity rolls. Never mind, forgot I said that.
Okay.
My I'm gonna skip 2 because it's my favorite and I'll come back to it. Number 3, violence. A red mist descends on the investigator and they explode in a spree of uncontrolled violence and destruction directed at their surroundings, allies or foes alike. Paranoia, severe paranoia for 1d10 rounds. Everyone is out to get them. No one can be trusted, and they are being spied upon. Someone's betrayed them. What they are seeing is a trick. That one's cool. 5, significant person. Review the investigator's backstory for significant people, and then you can do the thing that we were talking about before. Number 6 is fainting, which is the most boring. They just faint. They flee in panic. Physical hysterics or emotional outbursts. The investigator's incapacitated from laughing, crying, screaming.
Yep.
Then 9 and 10 is the phobia and manias, respectively. So you just you roll in that D100 table. And my favorite one, and the one I think that can be the most interesting in the moment, depending on the circumstances, psychosomatic disability.
Oh.
The investigator suffers psychosomatic blindness, deafness, or loss of the use of a limb or limbs for 1d10 rounds.
Oh.
They turn into Sherlock.
Yeah. And so you have this thing where you can't use your leg because you believe you can't use your leg.
Yeah, I've heard of like temporary blindness and stuff in the face, and like having a mental break and then suddenly going blind. I think I've heard of that. It might have been through a show or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things of like I've never thought, like, because the mind is such a thing of like complexity that having such trauma that just breaks your ability to see, even though no damage has been done to your eyes or anything. It's such a, oh god, that's terrifying.
It's such an alien concept
to
people who have never had to experience anything like that. I imagine very few people ever do experience something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, it's one of those things that terrifies the fuck out of me.
And like, so that's why it's my favorite.
Oh,
so,
it's
like,
really, it's super good.
Imagine like you're running down a corridor or you're walking down a corridor, and then as you walk forward, your lantern's held high. Mm-hmm. The light illuminates like these fucking horrible dog-faced ghouls, and they're like chasing you, like, and then you fucking like turn around and begin running, and then one like howls out, and then like they all begin like braying and barking, and they're like chasing after you, and then you have a psychotic break, and in your mind's defense of you psychosomatically go deaf.
Yeah, totally.
But so like you're protected from the sounds of the monsters, but all of a sudden you have this whole new fear of, oh my god, I can't hear anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you turn around and look again because you don't know if they're behind you, and you see them fucking racing out of the darkness, and then it's worse.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's great.
It is a super cool narrative thing to happen, because I can totally see that happening just so that your brain that can't comprehend what's going on, it basically puts a wall there and just just goes nope, and then you go, what the fuck, you went too far. I now can't hear anything.
There was some show I watched. There was basically the intro to it was like the brain's defenses against that which it cannot deal with. The first of which is sleep, which is why like someone will get some bad news and they'll faint. Or as time goes on and you have more nights of rest between some bad news, you feel better. The second of which is insanity, and it's basically you block out whatever it is. Or no, sorry, the second one is forgetfulness.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And you block out whatever it is that's bothering you.
Right.
And then that's where you get repressed memories. The third one is insanity, and you just say goodbye to reality.
Because fuck reality sometimes.
The fourth one is death. And it's just like absolutely nothing is protecting you, no matter what your brain is trying. And your brain just goes, I'm gonna head out then.
I think I'm done. Here. Tried really hard, but didn't work. And you know what? 2 out of 10 would not be in this body again.
Not 1,000,000% about it. But you do also get a fantastic sort of setup for your next Call of Cthulhu character. So say your character is deaf, and 2 days later they're crossing the street and they get run over by a car. Congratulations, that character is now literally the setup for literally any Lovecraft story ever, wherein old man Jenkins said he saw something crazy, and then he got a little bit weird, and then he died. And then the private investigator's like, despite the fact that no one is paying me to do this, I shall investigate old man Jenkins.
Yeah, dude.
Because
it's interesting, dude. I'm on my day off, and also I don't know.
That's gonna be a long day off.
and now that I am going through these tunnels, he actually saw some dogs that are actually super inbred people that have recessed in their genetic structure because this makes sense.
Yeah.
This is how genetics work. Yes, they are awful.
Yes.
And oh, look at that! They have some shady connection with black people. I don't know.
They're the ones behind. No,
they're always the ones.
Oh, they were giving the dogs their dog food. That was actually people. And like, you now have a Lovecraft story. You're welcome.
Totally.
And so that whole thing that we just went through, that's the first phase of your insanity.
Oh yeah.
There's still 2 more.
Well, let's I appreciate you're going through it, and if it comes up in the video, we can go into it further. But I think let's actually start.
We don't need to read through a whole table.
Exactly.
But it's so fun.
Oh, it is cool, but that is something that the listeners can look up on their own time. Otherwise, this will be a 10-hour podcast.
I know,
which is fine with me because I'm now awake. But anyway, let's watch. This is from Seth Skorkowski. I've seen. I don't know. Did we watch one of his videos before?
I don't think so.
Okay, I think
recall.
I have, and I think I was going to post one, but then I didn't. But yes, Seth Skorkowski. He's pretty neat, and he's going to talk about sanity. So.
I wonder if his nickname is Scoreboard. It should be.
It's probably Mike.
That's right. That's it. God damn it.
It's just, oh yeah, his nickname? Yeah, it's Bob. Yeah, all right.
Yep.
Skorkowski, and welcome to part 7 of our review/overview for the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Today's episode, we're going to discuss sanity. The sanity rules are one of the most distinct parts of the role-playing game and often the most misunderstood. One of the major themes of H.P. Lovecraft's stories was madness. The heroes of his tales usually survived, but were left mentally and emotionally broken afterwards. It's no coincidence that the asylum in the Batman universe is called Arkham Asylum. As the player characters in the game, learn the secret truths of this world, and they experience the mind-bending horrors and the emotional trauma that comes with all of that, their sanity begins to break. In game terms, this is expressed through sanity points. It's best to imagine
I like the picture.
And emotional hit points. Our character Jack Malone, that we made in episode 2, will begin the game with 52 sanity points. During the course of the adventure, that score is going to go up and down depending on what he encounters and what he decides to do about it. But the maximum sanity that he can ever have is 99. That maximum sanity is going to go down as his Cthulhu Mythos skill goes up. For every 1 point of Mythos skill, deducts 1 point from his 99 maximum sanity. So if his Cthulhu Mythos was to go up to, let's say, a 5, then his sanity of 99 maximum is going to drop to a maximum of 94.
Well, I gotta say, I do appreciate that's a mechanic in Call of Cthulhu, because it's like, hey man, you now know that things exist in Antarctica that have been there for millennia, and you can't do anything about it.
You can't unlearn that shit.
You quite literally have that knowledge with you forever, and it will affect your sanity forever because you will never not know that.
Yep.
I have 2 problems.
Okay.
The first of which is I think it should be perhaps a 2-to-1 ratio of 2 points Cthulhu Mythos to 1 point sanity, simply because you can learn horrible truths in life. We probably all know at least 1 or 2 or 3 horrible truths.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we are not insane. Like, we do not lose sanity whenever we find something horrible, like, oh, prion diseases exist. Wow, you can actually just have your brain liquefy in 2 weeks and there's no cure. That kind of sucks. But the average person does not start to lose their grip on reality because of it, even slightly.
I think the thing is with me, I would consider total sanity to be more akin to what other people would think of you if you were to begin talking about it, whereas your current sanity is more your mental stability.
Yeah,
so like if you have like, I don't know, if you have like 30 Cthulhu mythos and thus 69
nice
maximum sanity, if you start talking about that with other people who have no Cthulhu mythos, they're gonna think you're crazy.
That's fair.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, because the stat itself that you have in the beginning is your state at that point, and it's not getting affected by the amount of mythos that you get, because it is just taking away from where you can be at, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't start at 99. You probably never will start at 99. You start
if you do, you're fucking incredibly lucky.
Exactly. And at that point, like, you're happy-go-lucky, and if you start losing sanity because you see horrible shit, then that makes sense to me, because you've never had anything happen to you in your life, right?
Because you're very sane does not mean that you are happy-go-lucky. You can be a highly logical college professor.
Yeah, I'm just saying in terms of the number being so high above what other people could have, like, how do you have such a high sanity in regards to anyone else, right? If you were at 99 in regards to anyone else, it'd be like, how the fuck do you stay so much in that bubble, right?
I think it would, if you have so much sanity that is significantly above what other people would have, I would relate that more to mental fortitude at that point.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Because it's not like the Joker where you're super sane. You're just able to handle these phenomena.
Okay.
You know?
There's also, too, the fact that I do have an issue with the fact that full sanity is 99 instead of a nice, rounded, squared-off 100. Think of 100, you think of 100% is full.
So that's the other thing. I don't think of it being 100% sanity, right? I think of it being just like a number that you can get to, because again, you start at what you start at, and that is your 100%.
Yeah.
If you go above or below that, fucking hell, dude, you're doing great or you're doing worse, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of equate the loss of the 99 to 95 being more of like, you're getting more I guess hardened to things in a way.
And again, you're gaining knowledge that the majority of people don't have.
Exactly.
And again, that's why I consider that 99, that maximum sanity, what other people would consider
it's more
normal.
the social kind of sanity.
Yeah. And then it's also worth noting that in the book specifically, there is a thing where because all spells cost sanity points, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
They cost power, they cost sanity. Whereas it actually states that sorcerers, like Cthulhu mythos sorcerers, who like the bad guys, like cult leaders and shit, who have lots of magical power, they technically have no more sanity because they fully believe in the mythos. However, they're still able to cast magic, which costs sanity points, and yet they're not all raving, babbling madmen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you have this dichotomy where when you lose sanity, you go batshit, and when they lose sanity, they stay functional, but they've opened their mind to this alien shit.
They have eyes on the inside.
Exactly. And so it's a really interesting thing where you can have these characters, these sorcerers, who have no sanity and yet are completely functional in society at times. Because you can have the leader of a cult also be the leader of like like the head of some, like, I don't know, some country club where these like 1%ers go to, and they spend time drinking and commiserating with each other, and slowly but surely they get like corrupted down into this cult, and they're like the Illuminati and shit.
Yeah, I do also have some issues with spells costing sanity. I understand that thematically it makes sense. You start dabbling with forces and you're like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is real shit.
Yeah. However, I don't like the fact that it costs you sanity each time. Like, say
that I'll agree with.
I get the ability to snuff a candle right from across the room. First time, I might lose a bit of sanity because I'm gonna be like, "That's fucking wild." But if I get to the point where I'm so used to doing it, it's like turning on and off a light switch. At that point in time, the case could be made that it's no longer affecting you. You're kind of just taking it for granted at this point.
And there are rules for that, because there's a section in Insanity called Getting Used to the Awfulness.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I believe it, in the book itself, I believe it relates more to seeing monsters and shit, where it's like, okay, you've seen a deep one, or you see a group of deep ones. You take a sanity hit, like the biggest, like you roll sanity for each one, and then if you fail all three, you take the one that would do the most sanity damage, and then that's it. And if you see more deep ones over the course of like the next day or the next week, you don't lose any sanity because you've already seen it.
Yeah, like,
and so that,
if you're going on an expedition or like a university safari, essentially, to an area where weird stuff is going on, the first time that you see them, you and everyone else in your party is going to be like, "What the fuck?" And you're going to be like ripping your clothes and like daubing your faces with like mud. But like, you're going to get back, you're going to be like, "That was fucking weird, Jimmy. Go take a fucking shower." And you're gonna go the next day, or maybe like a week later, once you've had time to kind of gather your wits.
You'll have time to like explain it to yourself in your mind, rationalize it in your mind, and then
like,
you go back.
Oh, maybe it's just some creature we have previously not met, and I don't.
It's like an undiscovered species.
And I don't like the fact that looking at it makes me nervous, but I just have to balls up. This is the 1920s where toxic masculinity is at its peak. And you're gonna go there the next day, and you're gonna be like, they have 5 arms. I thought they only had 4.
And then that's when you start like taking notes and shit.
Yeah, it'll still unnerve you a little bit, and it might make you lose like a point.
Tinkling at the back of your skull, but you're like, it's manageable. And by the time that you've seen them for the 7th time, and you're showing them to the one person who's ripping his shirt and daubing his face,
like, what the hell's wrong with you? Man, it's fine.
You're like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, yeesh, how embarrassing.
Right? And so I would, in the Call of Cthulhu campaign that I intend to run, that's how it's going to work. So if you cast a spell, as long as the spell doesn't call for something major, like, again, eating a fucking corpse.
That stuff I wouldn't say that you could get used to unless you fucking go insane.
Right. And that's the thing. With that sanity, with that spell, I think it costs like to cast the spell itself. I think it only costs like 1d or like maybe just 2 or 3 sanity. But eating the corpse and completing the spell, you lose 1d20 sanity.
That's fair. That's fair.
So again, like if you're just like snapping your fingers and a light goes out, then it's like, okay, maybe like for the first time you lose like, oh my god, that fucking worked. Holy shit, magic is real. You might lose like 1 or 2 sanity. And then after that, But if you cast a different spell, then sanity again.
Or even for me too, part of it is when you study Cthulhu mythos, you start to learn like, oh, they believe that there's a city called Rilya, and they believe that there's a big giant squid man who will waken up one day and he will usher in the great old ones. That's probably what 5 or 6 points worth of Cthulhu mythos.
I think so, yeah. Well, I think learning about Cthulhu and the ultimate fate of the world, I think that would probably be a little bit more, as long as your character actually believes it. Because again,
it's the whole...
there's rules for like learning shit but not believing it until you see physical, actual proof.
Yeah,
that was how your character worked when you had Bernard Huxley.
Yeah, I had, because like he had studied a lot of cults before, but he wasn't batshit insane because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had
that giant frog. He was like,
things are real.
You went batshit at that. Well, actually, no, nobody went batshit at that. Yeah, but thankfully. you had the thing where it's like your character's like you rationalized it away by having it be like, oh, kids playing pranks.
Kids playing, that's right.
Yeah, and so you had an act. Yeah,
or I should say, I have, because I can open up Bernard Huxley sheet right now.
Oh yeah.
I could too. I have like literally in his backstory, the fact that he hates kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't we all?
I forgot.
I remember that. I still remember where you fuckers are in that campaign, even though it's over.
I forgot that I have name Bernard Huxley, occupation detective, age 45, sex not usually.
That's right. Yeah, it was good stuff.
What's the name of my cat? Mr. Fluff.
Oh,
forget your cat.
Views teenagers as lazy bums.
So yeah. Thankfully, there are rules for that kind of stuff, so that you don't have to immediately take sanity shit, because you could just be like, "These guys are weird."
Yeah.
Am I on candid camera? That joke hasn't been developed yet.
Exactly. So. Thankfully, there's stuff like that, and honestly, I agree with you with the whole magic thing. Like, it's one of those things of like, oh, power is coursing through me. That feels fucking weird. And then, like, once you get used to it, you're like, all right.
Yeah.
But once you've eaten your third corpse, I mean...
Yeah. And then I think
once you start pairing him with fava beans and a nice Chianti, it's
then I think
you're a little off your rock.
Yeah, it's safe to say that I think
that's when you're fucked.
Yeah, you're probably gone at that point.
And then I think once you cast spells that are vastly different from one another, I think the power will feel different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thus it will cause, like, I snuff out a candle. It's like, okay, take like one sanity.
A car.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's like I busted through a wall by summoning a tentacle in front of me that fucking liquefied it into fucking blood and gore. Like,
that doesn't even make sense. What the fuck?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Guys, you don't understand. I sneezed and all the flowers on a hill bloomed.
Exactly.
Like,
that's not very Lovecraftian. I think they fucking turn into fucking like pulsating hearts and lungs and shit.
Yeah, more so. But yeah,
they're all screaming about the Jews.
Oh my god!
Hey, future people who find this and go, "Oh, hey, what the fuck?" It's a joke, you.
It's a joke,
idiots. Come on.
What are you insane? You think we're really doing? We mean this? You must be insane.
It sucks that
Lovecraft actually despised the Jews, which is weird, given that he had a Jewish wife.
This was before. Like, to be fair, he got a little better afterwards.
Yeah.
But it did not stop her from eventually divorcing him, though.
No,
because he discouraged her from visiting her family.
Yup. Yep. He was he's a bit of a.
My boy Howard had some problems.
Yeah. No, here's the thing. He was a brilliant mind who came up with a wonderful cosmology, but he was a fucking asshole.
Oh yeah.
And he was a racist, he was a bigot, he was a white supremacist, and I would not fucking hang out with him. But fuck, do I love the worlds he came up with.
Yes, exactly. There's you can separate the author from the work.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You can like totally Hitler's work of like apartments. His lighting was very good.
Yes.
However, I don't like what you would probably use those apartments for.
Exactly.
Perfected the gas chamber.
Yep.
I don't know what that's useful for now, but maybe like chemical testing.
That one's
of some sort.
Not so much.
The Nazis did actually a lot of work on cryology.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And they sort of laid a foundation for it, which is still used by modern scientists today.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, like, what was it? There's, like, the cars as well, like, fucking
German engineering.
Yeah, dude. Like quite literally, like there was a lot of shit that they did that was still used now because they went forward with things that were beneficial. Like,
and not so beneficial, but
absolutely. But I'm just saying, like, there are two sides to it. So, like, fucking people gotta calm down a little bit.
Germans revolutionized tank design, with the exception of one of their tanks that kind of naturally funneled shells into the driving area that the crew had. But with the exception of that tank, they've revolutionized tank design.
But yeah, it's one of those things where, unfortunately, I hate that nowadays, if you make a joke that's a little edgy, then everybody goes, bigot! It's like
everybody assumes you're being fucking serious.
It's like, come on, man. There's a difference. There's intent, right? Like you can clearly tell intent sometimes, but unfortunately, some people clearly see different intent.
But again, I think our audience at this point understands us because again,
if you're
we're fucking assholes through all these podcasts, and they still seem to get the message.
Actually, wait, isn't this episode 17?
Yeah, this is 17.
Yeah, if you're in episode 17.
Yeah, if you're starting at episode 17, hi.
Yeah, it's like, hello. By the way,
this is the racist bigot episode.
Yeah, you missed the mark by 16, but oh well. Hello.
Hey, it's fine. You can just go back. It's not like
it's like this episode 17. Oh, whoopsie.
It's one of those things of like, our episodes are timeless. It's fine. They're not timeless.
They're not dated at all.
They're not dated. No.
No.
Anyway,
it is currently May 19th of 2020.
God damn it! Shut up.
Coronavirus is going on right now.
It is 10:40 p.m.
We are currently under the rule of the God Emperor Donald Trump.
God Emperor praised unto he.
Right.
Yep.
Never in my life.
That wall still hasn't gone up yet. It's crazy.
All right, let's
just wait. Trump will fly south to Mexico, and he will use his psychic powers to make everyone there bend the knee.
Who needs a wall when you have all of that?
The only reason why he hasn't done that to us yet is because the toupee is the fucking limiter.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. the day it gets blown off.
There's a fucking massive psychic explosion. We're all fucking zombies.
God.
I'm just waiting for it.
There's a total of two possibilities. One, Trump is the God Emperor, and Aiden is Horus.
Oh my God! I see.
So no, not Biden. Pence. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Politics.
Yes.
And the other option is Trump is a tyrannid. There's only two options available.
See, now I know why he's so orange.
Exactly, dude.
All right.
Okay.
All
right. Let's get back onto sanity.
Let's get back to the video.
We just had a bout of madness. God damn it.
We're going to explore further into the Mythos skill in another video, but just for the purpose of this video, I wanted to touch on that. Just remember that the Cthulhu Mythos skill reduces the character's maximum sanity stat. On the other side of the sanity spectrum, if we go all the way down to 0, the character then goes permanently and incurably insane and is no longer playable.
Meaning you're essentially dead, which makes you an NPC. Best case scenario is your friends visit you in the asylum from time to time. Worst case scenario, you become a villain that your next PC has to hunt down and kill.
However, your character is likely going to be insane long before they reach permanent insanity. In game terms, insanity comes in 3 different flavors.
Here we go.
Temporary insanity, indefinite insanity, and finally permanent insanity. Which type of insanity your character is suffering from depends on how much sanity points you've lost and how quickly you lost them. Sanity is lost through emotional trauma and encountering alien creatures. Here's an example of what can cause it.
And that's the exact table from the book.
This is why I was like, we don't need to go through the tables.
He'll go through it. True. I'm sorry, I just had too much fun reading
No, it's fair.
It's so fun reading these fucking
See
books.
Great Cthulhu, yeah, it's 1d10 to 1d100.
Yeah, and so the way that works is the two numbers are on the left-hand side, the 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 1d10.
Yeah.
That is if you succeed your sanity roll.
Right, yeah.
And then if you fuck it up, then you get the other roll.
Right. So you could see Cthulhu and only go slightly insane.
Yeah, because the way I would justify that is
not gonna go.
at that point, as long as you're running the campaign right and the story right, at that point you've already probably seen a lot of shit.
Oh, sure.
And so, like going in, I might see Cthulhu. Because it's like, okay, these guys, like, clearly we've been fighting this cult for the past, 3-4 months. And we know what they're trying to do, and they're finally about to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And they might have already been in the middle of it as we almost get there. Haha!
Yeah.
I'm gonna see the head of Cthulhu for a second.
I do find it weird that undergoing severe torture is less bad than finding a horrifically mangled human corpse.
What do you mean?
Well, because the sanity roll.
Yeah, if you pass the sanity roll, you take 1 sanity point, whereas if you make the sanity roll going severe torture, you don't take any sanity.
Yeah.
That's a little
there's
weird.
Potential for it to be worse, but I would much rather be walking through the woods and find a body than be walking through a parking lot and potentially become that body.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's true.
I would say so. I just assume it to be you mentally steel yourself to the fact that you are going to be in pain and you're going to be tortured to near death and shit, but you're gonna get through it, right? You're gonna be saved.
I think it's with those two things, it's more of the psychological part, because with torture, it's gonna fucking hurt.
Yeah.
But as long if you steal yourself,
what torture is messing with the person's mind.
It's true.
And that's why I'm saying, if you can steal yourself past that, right? You basically don't have any effect.
But you can also steel yourself to finding mangled human corpses. War is a thing.
It's true.
People do come back messed up, but not every.
I would definitely say so, but unless you are somebody who actually went through war, because you could have been a soldier, yes, but if you're not, I don't know,
Yeah, because the way I see this, it's.
Well, you could have been trained how to put off psychologically harming parts of torture, but maybe not.
No, exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You could have for either thing. I don't see why. I agree that it should have at least one there.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that it should have one.
I don't know why it's at 0, but
yeah.
It's just one of those things.
Honestly, I would bring the mangled human corpse down into a 1d8 territory, honestly.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, my dad used to be really into watching surgery.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my god, I can't. No thank you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I can't. If I was walking through the forest and I saw a fucking gutted corpse, its fucking ribcage just pried open, you can see all its organs and intestines are spilling out, they're slashed into fucking pieces, and ugh, that would be burned into my mind forever.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
whereas with torture, obviously that'll be burned into your mind forever as well, but I feel the pain is different from the psychological scarring that you would get from
You could also get things like the sound of someone sharpening a knife will make you scream out in terror.
That is absolutely true. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I honestly I think that they should have probably just switched the 1 and the 0.
Yeah, they should have,
honestly.
Also surprised to find a mangled animal carcass. I don't know about you guys, but I've been surprised to find roadkill before. Who knows? Maybe I went a little insane. Maybe I passed my sanity roll.
I also assume that this is again that jadedness, right? Because like current day and age, we're able to find and see a bunch of shit, and we're able to desensitize ourselves to it. That's the word, desensitize.
Yeah,
But like, I don't know. Fuck it.
Yeah. So
I feel people were more like able to deal with death and gore and stuff like that way back then. Because this was coming right after World War.
I know that, but I think I could be wrong, but I think there are studies that show that it's easier to be desensitized these days.
Yeah,
maybe.
It certainly seems that way.
Pretty sure. I could be wrong though,
because this was the generation where everything was, pretty. At least in America, I don't know. I don't actually know about the other countries, and continents, but in the 20s, everything seemed. I don't know if proper is the right word, but kinda
ignorant.
Yeah, kinda like it kind of feels like to me, it kind of feels like how Japan is sometimes, where in Japan, like everybody is super polite and everything, most of the things like arguments or swearing, it's kind of pushed to the side. It's kind of buried. Negative emotions are kind of somewhat buried a little bit. And so I feel like that's kind of how it was here.
I see what you're saying.
I can see what you're saying. Yeah.
And so like when this kind of shit happens, you were never exposed to it, because you didn't see like fucking people. You didn't have movies where people were getting their fucking heads blown off and shit. You didn't have zombies and shit like that.
Yeah.
And so you were never exposed to it. And so
Night
it's
of the
more
Living Dead was like super controversial when
That's
it came
right.
out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's how I see it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I can see that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whenever a PC encounters these things, they just roll percentage dice against their current sanity. Jack Malone's case, that's a 52. If we roll our sanity or lower, then we made the save. Congratulations. If we roll above the sanity score, we fail the save. There are no bonus or penalty dice that happen for sanity checks, nor can the player use luck to adjust the roll. It is just a single straight roll. You'll notice that the sanity loss in these examples, there are two figures that are separated by a slash, such as surprised to find a corpse is 0/1d3. The number to the left is the sanity loss if you make the save, 0, and to the right is the loss that you have if you miss the save, 1d3. Depending on the situation, sanity loss can still occur even if the character makes their save for their sanity. Such as meeting someone that you know to be dead is still going to cost you 1 point even if you make your sanity roll.
Yeah, makes sense.
You know to have been eaten.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, hey!
I ate your cousin. Because I needed to get into your house and I needed to consume his likeness to do that.
Italian food. Oh.
Yeah.
Their sanity check, they lose the maximum sanity possible. Also, if the investigator encounters multiple entities that cause sanity loss, such as encountering 3 ghouls, the sanity loss is still 1d6. It's for the encounter itself, not for the number of horrors encountered. There is an optional rule in the book that the PCs should roll multiple times, once for every entity encountered, and then go by the highest one rolled. So if you encounter 3 ghouls, you roll sanity loss 3 times, you go with the highest roll.
Yes.
I just don't do that for the sake of keeping the game running quickly, but that is an optional out there if some keepers want to use it. At any time that a character loses a...
And like, I would say, in counter to that, just roll all the die at once.
Yeah. And I mean, again, this is the same thing we've said in like, or I've said personally in the D&D ones.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that long to roll a fucking dice, man.
It's one of those things that speediness is something that everybody wants for some reason. Well, not for some reason. They want to make the most of their time together. Yeah, right.
It's true,
and I understand that. But I feel like a few additional die rolls is, unless you're doing a lot of them, it's not going to add up that much.
Yeah, not to mention when you have the big when you have a monster,
mm-hmm.
when you finally see a monster, that's your money shot. You
Mm-hmm.
want that thing to fucking last. You want it to be memorable.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no problem with telling you guys I don't have to make the rolls. I don't mind telling you guys to roll a whole bunch of fucking dice, and I assume you guys don't mind either because it's fun.
It's kind of part of the game.
Yeah, it's a very important scene,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and it should feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
Point of sanity, just a single point, they still are going to react. They might drop whatever they're holding, they might cry out, they might freeze in terror, or some other involuntary action as determined by the keeper. Once again, determined by the keeper. Now, if an investigator loses 5 or more sanity...
I don't know about that.
What do
I think... Huh?
What specifically?
Oh, he was saying that if you lose a single sanity point,
mm-hmm.
You perform an involuntary action like screaming or freezing in terror,
mm-hmm.
or maybe like stumbling, falling back. That's fine. But I don't agree with having the keeper determine what they do. I think that the player, depending on the character,
mm-hmm.
I think that they should have the ability to choose what they do. Unless they can't come to a decision, then I'm fine doing that.
So I would say that the keeper deciding what they do is fine, just in the sense of you have no control over your body in this moment.
That's true. It is an involuntary
right.
action.
It is involuntary. So quite literally, like you have the keeper say, and then you scream. Right, and
that's true.
While then slapping your mouth, like your hand over your mouth to try to stifle it, right? And like it's one of those involuntary things where you can't help but do it, but then your keeper, if they're feeling generous, might even put in something of like, okay, and then you fucking snap out of it and go, fuck my mouth, no, and then put your hand up, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's fine. I think it's just fine.
Yeah. I guess that, man, you're correcting me so much and I fucking keep agreeing with you. God damn it.
This is the point!
I know. I don't care.
I love it. No, it's good. It's good.
Points in a single instance, then they must make an intelligence check. If they roll their intelligence or lower, i.e. making the check, then they understand the horrors that they've encountered and are driven temporarily insane.
Yes.
Which means that smart characters are more likely to go insane than dumb characters. Who said that being an idiot isn't without at least a few benefits?
Temporary insanity
I love that.
1 die 10 hours, which, depending on what's going on in the adventure at the time, might be for the duration of the game. Indefinite insanity occurs when a character loses 20% or 1/5 of their sanity in a single day, and a day being defined by the keeper, meaning that it could be longer or shorter than just an actual day. It requires that the PCs find a safe place and that they rest, and that is what makes the end of a day. What I do is that I tell my players to mark their sanity trackers at the 20% or the 1/5 mark. They do this at the beginning of each adventure.
That is a good idea.
Threshold for when they're going to become indefinitely insane. So it doesn't require any big occurrence to actually drive them indefinitely insane like it does for temporary insanity. It can be just done by a simple, steady, slow loss over a short period of time, such as a single day. There's also no intelligence check to try to stop it once they've crossed that line. Once they've crossed that line, they are going to be insane. Definite insanity lasts as long as the keeper determines. It could last until the next investigator development phase, or it could last longer, requiring months and months of treatment in order to cure it. Regardless of which type of insanity your character has, insanity comes in 2 stages. The first is a short bout of madness, followed by underlying insanity that lasts for the duration of whichever insanity it is they have. A bout of madness means that the investigator temporarily loses control. If the character is in the company of others, it lasts for 1 die 10 rounds. If they're alone, or if everyone around them is also suffering a bout of madness, it will last.
Which would be bad.
That's great. I'm in my group, and Johnny just went. Oh, Timmy just went. Oh, there I go.
It's like woo, and then it's like, it's okay, the worst. We'll fade to black, and then it's literally where should I put you?
It's literally the worst for me because everyone went out before me. Fuck.
It's fucking
Well,
that's some shit. That's some fuck, man.
I love it. It's good.
Yeah, me too. I hope he talks about the addition, the second part of Phase 2, because that's one of my favorite things. I think he will, and I'm super hyped.
Hours. For this, we get a couple of charts.
Yay!
People can roll or choose anything on there that they like. They might start screaming their heads off, or they might run away, or any other number of exciting things. Personally, for my own games, and because I trust my players' role-playing ability, I tell the players how their Bout of Madness manifests, and if it's possible to role-play it, I trust that they're going to role-play that. The only problem with this chart is that there's only 10 options. It doesn't take too long, even in a single session, for you to go through all of the options that are on there, and you end up with a lot of repeats. I really would have preferred it if they had given us a chart with 20 options on it instead. However, being such a well-loved game and little internet searching is going to yield a few alternate tables that you can try out.
Yeah!
Oh, I like that. Ooh.
Go into homebrew shit.
Hell yeah.
Homebrew shit is always fun, as long as it's balanced.
Babbles, incoherent rapid speech, or logorrhea. Or in logorrhea, whatever logorrhea is. Intense phobia. Homicidal, hallucinations. Mutilates her own body for up to 8 points of damage. Woo!
I like that. Self-mutilation.
Man.
There you go.
Ooh, gripped with a strange or deviant eating desire. Ooh. Oh, I like those.
Olives and chocolate, man.
Loses the ability to communicate via speech or writing. Ooh.
Oh, interesting.
I'd rather not a session devolve into charades.
It's true. Yeah. Uncontrollable tics or tremors. -4 penalty on all skill checks.
Oof. Yeah. Stuff like that makes total sense to me. But yeah, I'm again, like you said, I'm glad the game is, the ones who play the game love it to a point of they will make content. It's just like D&D, basically. People will make content for the games because they're fun, and they want to have their go of making more fun.
Exactly.
As long as it's, like I said, balanced, which is easy enough to look into.
Well, here's the thing. In Call of Cthulhu, with Insanity, you don't really have to balance it that much because you're kind of fucked regardless.
It's true, but there is a sense of balance in there.
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't make like a temporary insanity thing where it's like, oh, you blow your brains out.
Right, exactly. That would be stupid. No. Right.
Yeah, that would not happen.
No. But yeah.
So Keepers, you can mix it up a little bit. There's also insanity dice that New Comet Games makes.
What? Whoa! Insanity dice.
Immediately. Well, I'm glad we've learned something today.
Oh my god.
That is pretty cool. I'm into that.
Yep, goddamn. That's awesome. They're on Amazon. Sweet.
As I hear Boo's wallet open and money just flutter out.
Yep. Need it.
I snagged mine off of a Kickstarter some years ago, and they can be fun to occasionally, hand to a player and make them roll their own sanity loss for it. It's just something that I don't use all the time, but I like to mix it up from time to time and keep the players on their toes with something fresh. Now, if the player character is alone or everyone around them is suffering a bout of madness, we use this chart. This is a bit different in that it's a summary of the bout of madness. Essentially, the player character comes to after 1 by 10 hours, completely unaware of what it is they might have been doing.
It's very irrationally annoying to me, the fact that it says 1 die 10.
Yeah, I know. I'm also getting to that point of please, I understand, but you can say D.
Yeah, no, I don't mind it. I'm definitely noticing it every time.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, great moments of role play as, PC might wake up in a ditch covered in mud, missing one shoe, and suddenly finding out that they're several miles from where they started. Or they might come to on a train destined to find their most important person, and they have no idea where in the country they are right now until they hit the next station or until they ask someone.
Or just waking up in an asylum, wearing somebody else's clothes and booked in under their name.
You could center an entire gaming adventure just for the characters trying to piece together what their characters did over that 1 day 10 hours where they were going through a bout of madness. Now, aside from losing control, one other effect that a bout of madness has is that the keeper has the option to change one element on the character's backstory. Maybe a clean-cut character becomes disheveled, alcoholics become teetotalers, your most treasured possession becomes something completely different, your character finds or loses religion. It is all up to the keeper. Now, this is an area that gives the keeper a lot of power. They get to change the character's personality, and this can be great and a lot of fun for a lot of different reasons. But keepers, you shouldn't abuse this. I find that a slow alteration of a character's personality as they're repeatedly brushing up against the mythos and all the horrors make it much more effective than having it suddenly being a one-time, big, sudden, drastic change and now there's somebody completely different.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because if I would say that if it's like one thing that's just super sudden and so important, then your player is going to get fucking thrown out. They're just going to immediately go,
that's a little much. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you have it just be a slow whittling effect that just they slowly start replacing like words one by one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great. It's like on Timmy's 10th birthday, I gave him his special bicycle, and then as it slowly you just change some of the words. Wagon, you change one into like murder. it's like you just keep going, like slowly, day by day. You just start putting in different words, and then they're like, wait, what?
Oh, and then it's also important to
hype myself up for that.
Damn. It's very important that even if you are playing Call of Cthulhu and you intend to do this, talk to the players first and let them know that you will be doing that, and then ask them if they're okay with that.
Sure.
Because again, it is an optional rule. You don't have to do it.
It's true.
But yeah, I think if you posit it that way, they'll be all for it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely still ask first, just in case. Although, if they're getting attached to their Call of Cthulhu character, they're not playing it right. But
no. See,
I know. It's just like
I know. I would say you can be attached, and it makes the loss that much worse, right? Like,
it's
not
true.
Worse. Sorry, better. Because when you're attached to your character and you lose them, it's gonna be painful. Oh, it's gonna be so painful and sweet and delicious.
Fucking hurt me good.
It's one of those things that I feel like if you get to that point to like have them be so attached, and then you have them lost either to insanity or something, then you have their next character come and go, shit, what happened to them? It's like then you get to see that character, like if they go insane, you see that character as that NPC character that you might sometimes see, and then they get that pang of like, fuck, I remember
that was me once.
Yeah.
I knew you in a previous life.
Have a character that goes insane and has to be put in an asylum. And then have another character that as they go insane, they start changing their backstory to what the first character's was.
Ooh, yeah. They start just becoming that guy.
Yeah.
And then they're like, why are you calling me Paul? It's me, Bernard.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
that'd be so creepy for everyone too.
Yeah.
I love it.
They can start taking sanity damage because they're meeting someone who they know to be dead.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's great.
That's really good. I like that.
It can be tempting to turn that greedy hoarder of a character into a selfless charity worker, but keepers, use your best judgment here. You don't have to make a change to their personality every single time they have a bout of madness, but you do have the option, and you should do it from time to time. Now, the only thing that you can't change this way is the character's key backstory connection. I noted that on this sheet with some asterisks in order to show what it is. Everything else is fair game for the keeper to mess with, but that one is off limits.
Yeah.
Once the bout of madness is complete, the character then moves on to stage 2, which is underlying insanity.
Yeah.
The player regains full control of their character, but their character is still insane, which does have its own consequences. First, further loss of sanity points, even a single point, will result in a new bout of madness.
Oh.
Next, while the character can act normally, any failed push rolls are going to have new and often hilarious consequences. The descriptions under each skill provide some suggested examples of what to do if an insane character fails a push.
I love these. I love these so much, and these are just all in the skill. Like if you look in the actual
Keeper's Guide.
Yeah, these are under all the the actual skills, not in insanity.
That's super cool.
And so let's see. What's a good one?
Intuition does not work.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
If an insane investigator fails a pushed roll, he or she throws away the map, as happens in the Blair Witch Project, and follows their intuition. Their intuition does not work.
And that's for navigate. I love the operate
really
heavy
good.
machinery.
Oh, okay.
I want to have that, like, fuck it, I'll navigate myself. And then immediately transitions into the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia music.
Oh, man. That's really cool.
The gang gets lost in the woods.
And then if you go batshit and you fail a push roll on persuasion, you become like a fucking one of those guys who holds up signs with the end is near.
A doomsayer? Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great.
If an insane investigator fails a push roll, he or she will believe they are capable of death-defying stunts.
Yeah.
They are not. It's great. And then, actually, similar to this, there's one of my favorite fucking things in Call of Cthulhu is that there are some spells that can remove your attributes, stuff like that. And one of my favorite ones is size. And there are rules, or not? No, there are rules. There are rules for if you have 0 of those things, and it's great for size. It's like the investigator shrinks to an infinitesimal size. Who knows where they are? Because you basically become like Ant-Man. You're in the quantum realm. It's fucking great.
That's cool.
I love that shit. Okay, anyway.
Roll. Third, any phobias or manias that the character has become more pronounced, incurring a penalty die when a character is trying to resist them. Normally, phobias and manias are simply role-played. If a character is claustrophobic, for example, they don't actually have any in-game effect if that character was then to step into an elevator when they're sane. But when they're insane, the same character would suffer a penalty die for that skill roll that's made while they're in that confined space. So normally it's just role-playing, but when they're insane, it has actual game consequences. Finally, we have delusion.
Yes!
Characters are going to see and hear things that aren't there. This could be seeing monsters where there aren't any, or imagining sounds coming from unlikely places. One of my favorites is
I have to point out that that was both of the. I gotta bring it back to show it. Look at his eyes, dude.
Yep.
One eye is a little low there.
Yeah.
He's looking at 2 monsters.
All right.
Hang on.
Well,
let me see.
This does also remind me of in the game Don't Starve is very similar to that.
True, yeah.
Once you start going insane, you start seeing monsters that are actually there and can harm you.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is one of my favorite things about the underlying insanity is that they are you start making rolls. This actually has in-game rolls and shit where they are reality check rolls.
Oh.
While reality checks are used only on behalf of insane investigators, a player might call for one if they wish to see through what they believe to be a hallucination or illusion. You make a sanity roll, and then if you fail, you lose a sanity point, and that triggers a bout of madness.
Right.
And success, you see through the delusions, and the keeper must describe what the investigator genuinely perceives. So that makes it incredible. This is actually very, very in-depth and difficult for the keeper because knowing that they have delusions, you have to describe something that's completely out of this world,
right,
and impossible. But then you have to rely on your players. It takes a lot of faith in your players to do that, because if you do that and your players fall for it, that can fuck the whole campaign. Because, like, in this example, you're walking down the street and you see a fucking deep one walking towards you. Right. What do? Oh, I draw my fucking gun and I shoot it. It's like, okay, make your attack roll. Oh, crit success. Okay, roll damage. Oh, fuck. Mm-hmm. Well, turns out that you just shot old lady Smithers, and she was coming to deliver all the information that you requested from the library. Mm-hmm. And turns out it's like covered in her blood and
that's one of the things that I would say that depends on I mean, I don't think your party's gonna leave you when you're like that, right?
It's true.
Because your party's gonna be like, hey, fucking Jimbo's not doing so well, dude. We gotta hang out with him and make sure he doesn't do anything stupid.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a fan of being able to tell a PC, like, well, that hellhound you shot is gone, but in its place, you've newly found a baby carriage with some buckshot in it.
So, I'm super down with that, and like,
exactly.
I'm just saying that I think most parties of investigators are gonna be like, hey man, I need to make sure that Jim here doesn't fucking like shoot a baby. Right?
Exactly.
Like, and so they'll be there when they pull the gun and go, whoa!
Yeah. And then there's an actual, like, a flavor text thing just describing a scenario.
Sure.
And I won't read the whole thing, don't worry. Harvey, still suffering from underlying insanity, returns to his home. Going out his back door, he finds his neighbor leaning over the garden fence with some kind of recording device in his hands, pointing at Harvey's house. The keeper tells Harvey's player that Harvey's neighbor is spying on him. This is the delusion, and in fact, the neighbor is doing no such thing. The player, wondering if this is delusion, asks for a reality check. He succeeds. The keeper cannot continue the delusion and must describe the scene realistically. In this case, there was no recording device, and the neighbor was simply admiring Harvey's lawn.
Yeah, it's quite literally, you go, and as you, like, blink and rub your eyes, you then see your neighbor is admiring the poinsettias, and he even calls out and says, how did you grow such beautiful flowers?
Yeah,
right?
And so that can be extremely, at least in thinking about it, in thinking of scenarios like that, that seems like it would be very difficult to come up with on the fly.
It's definitely something that is heavily improv, right? Like,
yeah,
I unless, well, you could write down different scenarios, right? If you really want, like, ideas, I guess, more outlined, right? Yeah. To just be like, sometimes maybe they'll see that this dog is actually a fucking bat monster, right?
Oh,
like,
man, I just thought of one. Oh man, you go to the grocery store and you walk into the produce department, and in one of the bins you see horrifying wriggling maggots, the size of like baguettes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, reality check. Okay, you succeeded. They're cucumbers.
Exactly. Like, you can get a bunch of outlines and stuff, but I think in the moment, if, like, that's the thing, you can have your keeper as the keeper, you can, instead of doing it like all the time, right? You do it at certain moments, right? So you get when you have that spark of like, oh, you know what? In this moment, fucking Harvey's gonna see some shit.
Not to mention, this can also really, really, really spice up your downtime.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that's a really good way to use these.
And
this is like one of my favorite fucking parts about the underlying insanity. I love this.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's super cool.
Yeah.
Another really fun option that you could do is you could make the insanity manifest. It doesn't have to be all eldritch horrors.
Yeah.
But it can be stuff like they see Jesus himself walking down the street dragging a cross.
Yeah. And then it's like, reality check, and they fail it, and then they go, I fucking believe in Jesus. I fucking saw Jesus. Like, have a total
I guess I can't be a Buddhist now.
Yeah, it's just, I guess Buddha's fucked. I mean, Jesus exists, man. He's here. He's the second coming. He's here. Right? Like,
yeah. Like, you can have them go insane, but it doesn't have to be eldritch. It can be a conglomeration of different faiths and ideologies.
Oh, totally. Yeah, absolutely. You see Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad. They're all at a poker table playing what? And then you're like, reality check, you fail. I guess they're all real.
Yeah, right? It's like, oh my god, universalism. They're
writing Vishnu as a giant elephant.
Yep.
Or no,
fucking Ganesh is there too.
Yeah.
Another elephant.
Everyone's an elephant. It's
Dungeons and Dragons nerds at a table over there, and they're cool.
Yeah.
What? And they're not beardy, and they're not
those
boys.
Fucking
the fuck,
Satan worshippers. Get them out of here.
Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going.
Sounds coming from unlikely places. One of my favorites is the idea of a hallucinating an entire person. This could be their most significant person from their character sheet, or they could be an imaginary friend, like in Fight Club, or a former enemy, like Jessica Jones did in Season 2. Spoilers, by the way.
That was
Holy crap, Captain Burnwood? What are you doing here? I've come to help you, Jack. I thought you were dead. Hardly. Now let's face this monster together. Okay, Captain Burnwood, you and me, together, side by side.
A character gets the opportunity.
That's pretty good, actually. That's a good use of that. It's like, then he gets the newfound courage to go fight the thing and die.
Yeah, right. That's really good.
Believe any hallucination they have, and they can request what's called a reality check. This is simply another sanity roll. If successful, the delusions all stop until any more sanity points are lost. If the reality check fails, they then lose a point of sanity, cueing another bout of madness, because their belief in this hallucination is even reinforced, and now they really, really believe this is actually there. The mythos. So we're going to be covering the mythos rules in another video, like I said, but now we're going to touch on them again. One detail that I want to bring up here is that the first time a character goes insane from a mythos encounter, their Cthulhu mythos skill is going to go up by 5 points. After that, any new insanity that's caused by further mythos encounters each add 1 point to the Cthulhu mythos skill. Remember to drop your maximum sanity as the Cthulhu mythos skill does go up. Recovery. Okay, so we've gone over all the fun...
So before we get too far from it, so that actually helps with the whole mythos thing, because it's just the initial thing of like 5 points because it's real, and then it's like, and then afterwards you're like, okay, it's more real. Oh, there's and it's a slow thing, thankfully.
Yeah,
it's not
now
it's not a lot.
It is also worth noting that you can gain Cthulhu mythos skill by reading mythos tomes.
Of course, yeah.
So
there
is also that.
It's one of those things of it helps. Isn't the skill like, it's just a skill like anything else, and so you can use it to try to get information and stuff. So there's a trade-off there.
So you can use it to gain knowledge of things related to the mythos with the Cthulhu mythos skill, but other than that, you can't really do anything with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Things that happen to your sanity while it's going down. Let's talk about raising it back up again. First method is keeper awards. These are sanity points that are awarded back for completing a successful adventure. Among them is the destruction of mythos creatures. Killing a mythos monster rewards sanity back at the same amount that it was lost, such as encountering a ghoul costs 1d6 points. Killing a ghoul rewards 1d6 points. Now, it doesn't add up if you kill multiple ghouls, just like encountering multiple ghouls never costs you more than 6 total, but theoretically it is possible for your character to come across a ghoul, make their sanity save, not lose any sanity, and then kill that same ghoul, and then gain 1d6 sanity for killing it. For whatever reason, many of the printed modules and adventures out there don't mention any sanity rewards for killing the monsters or killing all the monsters. Some do, some don't. so keepers don't forget to reward your players for killing Mythos monsters. The next method of raising sanity is if the PC raises a skill to 90 or higher.
Yep.
It represents all the self-discipline and self-esteem that it earned them, but in game terms, it's 2d6 sanity earned once you get a skill above 90. The third method is psychotherapy, i.e. professional help. This can be done a few different ways, from expensive private care with live-in nurses and really good medication, to regular visits to your local shrink every couple of days, to full-blown institutionalization, either at a private asylum or one of, dubious reputation. Each of these has their own chances of helping, private care, of course, being the best. Also, psychotherapy is the only method that can cure indefinite insanity or remove a phobia or mania that the character might have gotten. With all of the rest, the character is merely...
Jim, you actually really aren't sexually attracted to bugs. It's like, but I am, though!
No,
it's like,
see.
No. Jim, you fell into a pit of bugs, and then you had one kind of wriggle, it wriggled inside you. Let's just be fair. It wriggled inside you, and and it's just like, no, Doc, you don't understand. I've discovered something about myself. This isn't insanity. This is just now me.
It's not a phase.
It's not a phase, man.
I would adore to play an investigator that is basically like the teacher in Community, just like, this better not awaken anything in me.
Exactly.
Raising their sanity points, which is good and that's nice, but it's still indefinitely insane, and they're still going to be suffering any manias and phobias if they're not using psychotherapy. Now, each round of psychotherapy, no matter which method you're using, is going to take 1 full month to complete. So it could be several months between adventures before a character is recovered from the last one before they start their next one. Now, one issue that I do have with this section of psychotherapy is there are no prices listed. State institutions, of course, are going to be covered by the state, which are also going to have the quality of a free institution, but nothing helps you get a good idea of the price of what the cost of private care is. For my game, I set the cost of private care at $25 to $50 a week, depending on the quality. Now, these are numbers that I just arbitrarily made up one day because the player was asking me. I have no idea if this is close to accurate for the 1920s, and I have been unable to figure out what the actual prices should be. If anyone does know, please let me know in the comments. I would be really, really grateful. The fourth method of recovering sanity is self-help. This is done by incorporating a character's backstory. Amazing how much that keeps coming up, isn't it? Maybe they go on vacation with their most significant person, traveling to their most significant place. Maybe they go on a religious retreat for a time. It's up to the player to decide and then to describe to the keeper what they're doing for their self-help. Now, if that self-help incorporates the character's key backstory connection, the player gets a bonus die when determining if this is successful when they're rewarding sanity. Only the key backstory connection can do this, and failing a roll using the bonus die from the key connection loses the key connection's ability. Now, one complaint that I have with the sanity rules is self-medication, i.e. drugs and alcohol and their effects. People who've experienced trauma and other horrible experiences often turn to these things, and I would like some rules for them. You can find some rules in the old 6th edition Secrets of San Francisco guidebook, which is pretty cool, and I have used them. But I would like some more, and I think they should have been included somewhere in the Keeper's Guide.
I was actually thinking about this when looking into it a little bit. I was wondering if you could use drugs and alcohol to actually self-medicate in order to help with sanity.
Let's see the opium one.
If not temporarily, right?
Yeah, it would be temporary. Morphine.
Yeah. The big issue I would have would be you could use alcohol. However, you're also near prohibition.
It's true.
Well,
so laudanum was popular at the time. Because it was classified as a medicine and hence able to get around very heavy taxation. So you could get alcohol, but honestly, laudanum was more effective and cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that I did in our campaign was I basically just made it so there's no prohibition. Like,
right.
in my universe, there was no prohibition.
Right. I mean, and to be fair, you can set it before or after, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things of like, I don't even know when Prohibition ended. When did that end?
I think it was early 30s. I think
maybe.
1933.
There you go. Hey. I didn't pay attention in history. I
didn't either. Don't worry.
Hey. But yeah. So it looks like, looking at this.
Yeah, a lot of them are basically it's just all sanity stuff. I feel like some of them would probably have. I feel like if you were to do like alcohol and stuff, you might have like a small buff to your sanity checks, but you would probably take like a penalty to your appearance or charisma stuff during.
It depends.
And then depends on how drunk you are.
Yeah.
You do, yeah. You also do, just going back into the prohibition thing and doing more research.
Yeah.
The Roaring Twenties were called the Roaring Twenties precisely because it was that economic uptick after war.
Yeah.
Responding in like a party culture.
Yeah.
So alcohol became a bit more publicly available because people were just defying prohibition.
Right.
And that's why in 1933 Congress repealed it because it was just ineffective.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
so
I think
I would say like speakeasies and shit are just a thing.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
speakeasies, and then also I would. If I run a game that has the prohibition in it, I probably will have prohibition. I would make it so that in big cities, you would need to go to a speakeasy.
Right.
And then in the smaller towns where like it's not like a police precinct, it's more just like a police station.
Right. Yeah.
They might care less.
Yeah,
until
say,
the feds come around.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's I would say if you're in a small town, then like the police themselves are drinking. Like
exactly.
They don't give a shit.
It's another line from the Untouchables.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I know you take drink at home.
Yeah.
But when you're on duty, there's no.
Yeah.
You know.
It makes sense, and it again, yeah, like you said, with if there were feds there, then it'd be like, no one,
like, oh no,
no one's doing it, right? Well,
yeah,
but
yeah,
they're saying no one's doing it, but you know,
and not to mention another thing would be nobody would. Like, the feds would only get sent there if the government found out about, like, the sale, like, wholesale selling of alcohol, because no civilian or cop is going to be like, hey, we got a lot of alcohol down here. Please come down and regulate us.
Yeah, exactly. I think most people at that time are just like, but I like the drink, though.
Yeah, I like that sauce.
Give me that sauce, dude.
Yeah.
Getting used to awfulness.
Yep, here it is.
Also known as maximum sanity loss. There's only so much that a creature of a particular type is going to affect a player character's sanity. Once again, going back to ghouls, they cause 1d6 sanity loss. Now 6 is the most that a player character can lose from encountering ghouls. Once they've lost those 6 points, the PC can encounter ghouls all day long, and it's not going to hurt their sanity any more than it already has.
There you go.
Because of this, a player should note their sheet how much sanity that they have lost versus each individual creature that they've encountered.
That's
However,
a good idea.
Once they've entered the investigator development phase at the end of any adventure, that's where they're going to be increasing their skills and all that other stuff. They're going to reduce that maximum sanity that they lost from each creature by 1. So if Jack here encountered a ghoul and he lost 6, he'd note that. He can't lose any more, and he can encounter ghouls without any ill effects. But once he goes into the investigator development phase, that drops to 5, then 4, then 3, etc., etc. So ghouls are still going to affect him in any future adventures, and depending on how much time has passed between adventures is going to determine how much ghouls are going to start affecting him again. Next is in...
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Because if you encounter it a lot in that one day, then it's like, okay, yeah, I've lost this, I've seen this a lot. But if you take the time to process and just kind of forget about it, then
it'll come back full force.
Exactly. Okay, that makes sense to me.
I like that rule. I didn't actually see that in the book.
There you go.
I would honestly say though that depends so heavily on personality.
Yeah. Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Because,
and so,
like, you can absolutely have that be like once you have time to relax and process it, and you see it like a couple months, you're like, oh right, yeah, that thing made me really nervous a couple months ago, but I've gotten over it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
I mean, yeah, you can. I would be totally fine with, depending on the personality. Yeah. I would be totally fine with especially if they were like a soldier or something, or like if they were like a doctor, especially. Yeah. It's like, that doesn't look too good, but I know how to deal with it now. So
yeah, you're right. I think because the thing that I would actually to bolster your argument there is you've already taken the sanity loss from the mythos, right? Like you have seen this thing and you will never forget that it exists. Yeah. And unless you completely go insane and just don't remember that time that you were there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel like even personality-wise, like personality-wise, for the ones who are more skittish, it would work the same way, I would say. Mm-hmm. And for the ones who are more this unfortunately this then becomes a min-max of how your personality is, right? Which is kind of I would never want role-playing to be min-maxed, right?
Yeah,
because that's just weird, right?
Well, the thing is, with you guys, I trust you to make the character that you want to make, not the character who you intend to survive.
Of course. And so what I would say then for anyone out there who's thinking of doing it the way that we're kind of describing is that you make sure that you know your players well enough that they're not going to be taking advantage of that, right? They're not all going to be boisterous, strong-willed people. Just because that gives them that buff, right? But again, I would say like the more skittish people would have the same kind of thing happen. The more strong-willed, they would probably have less of this effect, right, over the course of a few months.
Now, there's another thing that can come into play, and that would be the character, because you have to roll your current sanity, like your starting sanity. There we go.
Yes.
And so you could have this character who is like strong-willed and all that, but he just wound up with shit sanity.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if you have this thing where you don't take much sanity from ghouls, there's two ways to deal with it. It's having the low sanity, and so this character simply, his will starts to just disintegrate into madness. And then two, which is the more effective way to do it, just use lots of different monsters.
Mm.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That's the easy way to do it.
Yeah.
If you have players who are trying to do that, just throw multiple different kinds of monsters at them.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
So it can be super easy, barely an inconvenience. But that's the easy counter to that.
Or you can just not include that rule.
True.
Yeah,
you could also do that.
There are many things that you can do to just whatever works for you and your table. Hey.
Again, that's why this system is so fucking solid.
Yes, it is. It is quite solid. It doesn't need much change at all.
Yeah.
And honestly, all of the
I honestly consider it pretty rudimentary.
But that's why it's so solid.
Yeah, no, it helps. It's like the fate system when it's so simple that there are no mechanics that can go wrong.
Yeah, there's not much fuck.
Yeah, that's what I mean is like all the homebrew stuff that I see are additions, right?
Yeah,
and it's not anything that is completely like rewriting the system in ways, right? Like what we do with D&D all the time, where we can take things and just completely turn them on their heads, because it suits us better.
Yeah,
I mean, I would would completely rechange the way that they do the skill system.
In this?
Yes.
Oh. What's that?
How so?
I would just make it so you roll high instead of rolling low.
Oh, fair.
Because I think of it as passing a class or passing a test, where your degrees of critical and extreme success or failure are representative of like the grade you need for a D or a C or a B or an A. And then just say like, oh, I got an 87. That's a pretty good roll.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, I got a 3. That's a good roll.
Okay. Yeah, I
can understand that, but since Call of Cthulhu is its own whole thing, I'm able to easily separate it from the D&D system. Usually,
yeah. I was gonna say I understand using it for more ease of play. Doing that, but I also personally am am fine with the way that it is now, because I can also just kind of go down good for this for some reason. It's easier for me to do it for Call of Cthulhu than it is for me to do it in D&D like 2E.
Which is weird.
But the whole big number equal big good thing is not necessarily, I wouldn't call that D&D-esque.
No.
It's like that's been around since before D&D.
Yeah, that's like since fucking time immemorial.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say by me making it so that big number equal big good is making it more like D&D. I would say making it so big number equal big good is setting my mind goblins at ease.
Yeah. No, and don't worry, I can totally understand that.
That's fair. That's fair. And again, for some reason, my mind goblins don't act up as much due to Call of Cthulhu. For some reason, my mind goblins go, yeah, okay. You want low number because big bad thing, because you're in world of bad thing, but sometimes bad thing equal good thing. And I go, yep. But I don't know. It's just
the mind goblins are scared away by the fucking Chthonians and other things, and Shoggoths and shit.
It's just one of those things that it's, for some reason it makes sense to me, but I can totally understand why it would be more beneficial and more sensible to make it like big number good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Insane insight. This is one of those areas that's a bit difficult to describe.
Actually, you know what?
Goes
sorry.
Here's actually, now that I think about it, no matter what you do, it's going to be weird, because let me think. Yeah, no matter what you do, the skill system will be weird, because as it is, the skill is 1 to 100 or 1 to 100, and you roll beneath that number, and then if you do, it's good. Conversely, if you have it the other way around, your skill starts at 100 and then you count down. And so now you're making your skill go lower, and making it go lower is better.
Yeah, that kind of does change.
I would say for me that makes sense, because it's the difference in going, oh, I need a 70 in the final to pass the class versus, oh, I need a 50 in the final to pass the class.
Oh, no, I know that. I mean, I'm just saying that it'll be weird, because it's like, oh man, my number's going down. That's good, right? You know, the number in the skill.
Yeah,
so either way, it's a little weird. Now that I think about
that one. Now that you're pointing that out, that also makes me kind of go like, why would I want to make my skill go down?
Yeah,
that's very strange to me. Okay, I can rationalize it.
Skill, it's your failure chance.
Yeah, no, I can rationalize it though. You are, instead of being the 1 in 100 guys who are able to do this, you're the 1%, dude. You're the guy who is the master at it, right? You're number one.
Okay.
That's how I can rationalize that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm there. I'm with you now.
I'm
with you.
Okay. Never mind.
Let's completely change Call of Cthulhu now.
Okay.
Skill system.
Instead of, you would, for me, the biggest thing that you'd have to change is the sanity meter, but that can just be fixed by calling it the insanity meter.
Yeah,
that's fair. How insane you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
this is insane insight. This is one of those areas that's a bit difficult to describe, but essentially, when a character goes insane, a keeper can opt to give them some sort of moment of clarity and a free clue about something, either an immediately useful clue or something that's going to be useful far in the future. It's almost as if they passed a free idea roll. These can be extremely helpful when the PCs are facing, some strange monster that can't be touched by physical weapons, or if the players missed some clue early on and now they're kind of struggling to catch up with what's going on and they haven't been able to put 2 and 2 together. An insane insight is going to cure that. The source of the insane insight doesn't even have to make sense. Like, how they came up with this doesn't actually matter. They can even link clues that they haven't gotten yet. After all, it is insane. They can be really handy to use and get a game back on track, or getting it moving forward, or getting it off into a good direction. Mythos hardened. So as a character's sanity goes down, their Cthulhu Mythos skill goes up. There comes a magic point when their current sanity is actually going to be lower than what their Mythos skill is. This causes a huge shift, where the character's understanding has grasped this awful truth. And from this moment forward, once their sanity has gotten lower than their Cthulhu Mythos, they only get half for any sanity losses going forward, rounding out. This is a permanent change. So even if their sanity recovers and then goes back above whatever their Cthulhu Mythos skill is, they still and forever will only suffer half loss on any sanity.
That is a good way to do that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like that.
That's like the same reason why I wanted to have the Mythos skill cause like half sanity loss.
Yeah, and so
it looks like it does.
Yeah, it does at a certain point. So there you go.
Well, that is it for sanity rules. Hopefully it answered more questions than it caused. They're not too difficult. And one area that I still wrestle with a lot is remembering to incorporate delusions into the games. I'm always forgetting to do that. On the bright side, one benefit of me doing this entire series is that I now understand the rules a whole lot more.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's basically it. So yeah. Fucking good video there, Seth.
Yeah, fucking top notch.
What if all Karens that like walk into a restaurant and demand something that's not on the menu are actually Lovecraftian investigators who are currently like under a delusion that something is on the menu and they've not called for a reality check?
That's a really shit ass delusion.
Yeah.
You walk into a restaurant and you see a hamburger on the menu. I want the hamburger. So we only serve hot dogs. Reality check failed. No, give me a hamburger.
I want burger. Give me burger. Yeah, no, that's cleared up quite a few things, and we've come to a couple different little things because of it. Unfortunately, it was less pausing and going point by point. We let him talk for minutes on end at times, but honestly,
because it's less opinion and more just explaining the rules,
which is fine, absolutely. And it kind of helps with our understanding of them as it did with him, which is great. Plus, we were able to have a conversation about different topics. Anyway.
Yeah, we had plenty of fucking tangents.
Plenty to say.
I would say that a few D&D tubers could stand to learn a couple lessons from this.
I agree. Entirely.
Very to the point. Now, I would say the only complaint that I have with this video is that he was showing some pages from the book. I kind of wish he put page numbers on there. But other than that,
yes, yeah. But yeah, good video. I will definitely cover more of his stuff at times because I remember seeing some of the stuff that I wanted to just look at. And now having watched through this, I'm quite confident in his content, which is good.
Actually, you know what? Second complaint. One die blank.
Yeah, and then you notice how he was saying how did he say mythos? He was saying
he said mythos.
Mythos. Yeah, mythos.
He said,
I was
mythos.
like,
So we have mythos and then
at least it's not mythos.
Yeah.
Or mythos.
That I can overlook. That's fine to me. But like, mythos. It's like, how did you come to that?
Yeah.
Pitons.
Artificer.
Mm.
You know what's really funny? He put in a fucking video. It's like, oh, they complained about how I pronounce artificer, and then he fucking went to like Google Translate and sounded it out.
Yeah.
It is fucking artificer.
I know, and
That's
it's
hilarious.
wrong.
I know, it's so wrong.
It's wrong.
Never doing it.
You know, everyone has like weird, unique ways that they pronounce things. I say Pythons.
Yep.
You know, Jacob says artificer.
Yep.
RPG Pundit says you can only have one story every 6 years. We all have a little weird, unique
It's true.
pronunciation.
It's fair enough. It is fair enough.
That's how he says I'm an idiot who doesn't realize how to do proper writing. But,
it's a weird pronunciation, to be fair.
Yeah. That's a lot of fucking syllables.
Hell yeah. So I think we can save the other stuff for another time, honestly.
Yeah.
We covered quite a bit through a 6-minute video that took us an hour and a half, and then this one took us about 2 hours. It's a really weird thing there. Really.
Yeah.
I mean,
but oh my god.
That's why when you posted it, you're like, oh, one of the videos is only 6 minutes long. I considered just saying, that means nothing.
Yeah, you know what? Now I'm like, at this point,
video
now I'm
time
just
doesn't
like,
mean shit. Especially when you get me going on Cthulhu. I can talk about Cthulhu all day.
Yeah, dude, and we'll definitely do some more.
I have requested Boo to talk to me about Cthulhu all day.
Yeah.
It's great. And so we don't have to do Cthulhu again immediately. I just wanted to, because I figured we've had fucking 16 episodes where it's all D&D, and then we kind of touched a little bit on Fate of Cthulhu, which I don't want to touch ever again.
No,
but,
never again.
But
absolutely.
I would
branching out. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would definitely love to begin talking about some of the other like super popular ones.
Yeah, totally.
Or not super popular, the other popular ones like Cthulhu, Shadowrun, Cyberpunk.
Oh, absolutely.
I would love to talk about Shadowrun.
Hell yeah, dude. I love Shadowrun. Yeah.
Tune in next week for Evil Hat Productions' Fate of Cthulhu. And its corollary product, Thirsty Sword Lesbians.
But yes, so final thoughts, boys.
First video, not bad.
No, it wasn't.
But yeah, not bad at all, really.
It was his opinion.
Yeah, it was his opinion, but we got a lot of discussion out of it.
It's true. It is true.
A lot of genuine discussion, and that was nice. So that formed the impetus for that. So that was totally fine. This video, fucking 100 points. Rick and Morty, 100 years. Fucking good video. Although, to be fair, again, just pretty much talking about the rules. So
yeah,
but he did give some great examples where it's like, oh, you hallucinate a whole person, and then he did that little skit. That was really good.
Yeah, I'm appreciative more so of that skit than I am of the man in the asylum.
Yeah,
I understand why it's there, and I appreciate that he does the little skits for a little bit of comedy / just to break up the monotony.
Yeah, a little bit of flavor.
Yep, and like, hey, more power to you. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
The big issue I have with his asylum skit is the fact that he has a bunch of crosses drawn on his straitjacket.
Yep.
And it's like, dude, in a Cthulhu world, why would you ever draw crosses if you're insane?
So
yeah, come on, man. You're gonna draw fucking elder signs.
Yeah.
I would, Oh yeah, I would say though, if you didn't know what an elder sign was, the closest thing you have is like, because literally in like Cthulhu stuff, fucking using Jesus kind of works. Sometimes. So, hey, I don't know.
Madman's Insight. That's how you know what an elder seal is.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
I would say my only real thoughts are read your player's handbook. It's pronounced Pythons.
Yep.
It's called 1d10.
Yes.
And allow me to correct you. It is not your player's handbook. It's your investigator guidebook.
So is the keeper or the player supposed to read it?
Here's the thing.
It's
the
both.
Keeper's rulebook has all the same shit from the investigator oh, okay, it is handbook, my bad.
What?
So
would you find the investigators more analogous to players or a DM?
But so in the Keeper's rulebook, it has all the same things as the investigator handbook. However, the investigator handbook does not, I don't believe it lists spells or monsters.
Okay, so
yeah,
investigator's handbook is more for a player.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that's very useful in the investigator handbook, even if you are a keeper, it has an entire chapter on the 20s.
Oh.
Okay. And so you have a chronology, there we go, chronology of the Roaring 20s, useful information for 1920s investigators, 1920s biographies, and notable libraries and museums.
Oh,
so you get a little bit of stuff. And also, one thing that's pretty neat is that if this is your first time getting into Cthulhu stuff, Chapter 2 is the entire story of the Dunwich Horror.
Oh, really?
Yep. From page 18 to page 40. It's the entire story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you can read it, and you can enjoy one of the best fucking Lovecraft works. Yeah. And you can get into the spirit of it.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Very good.
I would also say, as a closing thought, please do not associate Lovecraft's personal and ideological shortcomings to the work that is done by the wonderful Sandy Peterson.
Yes.
Agreed.
Sandy Peterson put in a ton of work into this game, and he deserves every ounce of praise that he gets.
Wait, is it a man or a woman?
It's a man.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a woman this whole time. Oh, my bad. Fucking gender neutral names.
And yeah, don't just think like, oh, because Lovecraft was racist, hence every product that has Cthulhu's name slapped on it is racist.
Yeah, don't do that, please.
I've got some black and green dice with like an octopus face on it. They're not fucking racist.
Yeah. I have fucking dice that are like this kind of dull blue black, and they're my Azathoth dice, and because I'm the keeper, I roll them because Azathoth is dreaming the entire world, and I am Azathoth. What happens in my dream happens to the people in it.
Super racist.
Yeah.
Super racist. And even if you incorporate like racism into the game as some like views that certain NPCs have, that does not make you racist because you're making a world and you're choosing to inject racism into your world, hence you must actually be racist. No,
that's not how that works.
That's like saying this world is racist. The one that we live in, the world is racist. That means you're a racist.
It is thematic for the time. It is not. Does not mean it's right.
Yeah.
You can have someone who refuses to drink alcohol make a world in which taverns exist.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
So please don't do that. Yeah. You're severely limiting yourself if you do. You're stifling your own creativity. Right, right, Mr. DM man? Why are they stifling their creativity, Mr. DM man?
You ask questions of a man who only has questions himself.
Yep.
Definitely all that. I agree with all of that. And if you have the opportunity to educate in a way that people will listen who are of this kind of mindset, please try. Because I would love to find more people enjoying the hobby for what it is instead of looking at it through a lens from 300 feet away and never touching it. Right.
I'm fairly grateful that the woke SJW secondaries who showed up, like Call of Cthulhu got a pretty easy in terms of people trying to be red-pilled.
Yeah, it did. For some reason, D&D, I mean, I understand why, because it's the more popular one, but...
Yeah, there's more normies in D&D.
Yeah,
Which is, you know what I mean.
It's one of those things. But, yeah, so... Definitely do that. Definitely take a lot of the things that you learn from each of these kinds of tabletop games and kind of use them interchangeably in a sense. Like I think it's important to look at what Cthulhu does with its backstory and its notable people and kind of just use that for yourself in like D&D, right? Where it's not like it's an essential thing, but it is something that can matter and that the DM could use to make things matter more. And just like the keeper can change who your loved one was, right? Like you have this thing that can build your character so much, and that can really change them as a person, depending on what's going on. And it's just important to like think about that. And let's see.
But here we are giving a discussion on how to combat racism. I don't know if that's really...
Yeah, it's true. You're right.
That's not really our thing, because there have been people trying to do that for the past 200 years.
Yeah, it's fair.
I would also say that the whole backstory thing and incorporating it, there's more that applies than just that, because you could absolutely like just lift those insanity tables from Call of Cthulhu and put them in Ravenloft.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You can put any of what Call of Cthulhu has and put it into D&D or in any other system, I feel.
I might lift them and put them in the thing for like the Adventurers Guild Darkest Dungeon TTRPG thing.
Yeah. I know back in 3.5, they had Taint and Heroes of Horror had Insanity because of that. And I found a table that was made, I think by Matt Mercer actually, who he made a table that was in the spirit of that mechanic for 5e. I'll have to check again, but I think I found one and it looked interesting. I think there's a lot of RPGs can have these kinds of mechanics that can make each other more interesting. I can't think of one that D&D has that isn't already like applied basically in this one. That isn't like something that would be blatantly like weird for the system, right? But yeah, I think it's good to kind of branch out and find these kinds of things and then go and kind of incorporate what you like into other things that make sense. And don't break the system.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be it from us. Thank you for listening. You can find this podcast every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our YouTube channel, TableTalk Discussion and Discourse, as long as I have it rendered and posted.
And your upload doesn't decide to tank.
Yep, and it's not 8 hours. You can then find it again on Mondays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on major podcasting services. Though I found that for some reason, sometimes it takes like 3 to 5 hours for it to get onto the Apple's podcast for some reason. So that's cool. But yeah, hopefully you're able to find it still. And also tune into Devils and Dice. It is up on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as long as I have it rendered and uploaded.
We just had a big cliffhanger. You should really tune in.
We did, and I need to...
So boring. I'm definitely not burning curiosity as to what the hell happened in the abyss. Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
You haven't been thinking about it constantly since.
Didn't come up with 4 different fear theories.
Definitely have not been messaging the group chat going like, what if it's this?
Yeah.
Which I do need to render and upload. Which I will, I promise. Yep. There's also the Twitter at TableTalk D&D or Dedand, if you will. As well as you can send us an email if you really wish.
Wouldn't Dedand be DD and?
You're right. Dan.
Yes.
I've been saying it wrong this whole time.
Oh wow.
That's why I've been saying Dan to D.
Well, there you go.
And every outro I go,
Thank you. Well, now that you've pointed it out, I will probably forget the next time.
And I will be there for you next time.
Thank you. Same thing for the email if you want to send us one of those. TableTalk d@gmail.com. You can find it on our YouTube page. Or Dan. There you go. And it's going to be hard to get used to now for some reason. And you can leave us a voice message through Anchor. That's a feature. As well as leave us comments for what you want us to talk about, or just in general saying, hey, I think this, and we'll go, hey, that's neat,
or hey, that's dumb.
And we'll tell you why.
Tell me what you think, not what you feel.
Exactly.
I'm not your parents. I don't care what you feel.
And and hey, if you like what we do, like the thing, or leave us a review, or dislike it, or leave us a different review. You know, whatever.
Dislike it and then just leave us a nice review anyway.
Yeah, dislike it and
or do as the internet do and dislike and then provide no feedback.
Exactly. You could do that too. That's totally fine. And hey,
I disagree, but I can't justify these disagreements, so I'm going to
I'm just gonna nod
like a coward.
Hey, another call to action there. If you could spread the word, share us to your friends, your family, your grandma, whoever the fuck you think deserves to listen to a bunch of assholes. Hey, maybe your grandma's cool. I don't know.
Jerry, Jimmy, these boys sure do swear a lot.
Maybe we can get the group that Dungeon Craft plays with. And show them how to play a real fucking RPG.
I would DM a campaign for them.
It would be interesting.
Be like, hey guys, we have these things in D&D called classes.
What? Fighters can do what?
Yeah.
Hey, one other thing, just to reiterate that call to action, because it is rather difficult for us to be found via YouTube and via the podcast's audio, because we are 1, explicit, and 2, bad for the algorithm, and 3, a bunch of assholes. So, so please, if you would, do your part, help us out, and we'll continue to make you nice little podcasts.
Yeah.
If it's all the same to you, Alejo, may I also use what platform I do have to make another call to action?
Absolutely, as long as you just tell them to. And never mind, I was gonna make a bet.
Please don't be racist.
Oh.
And if you are racist, just don't.
Just stop.
Just don't.
Stop.
Yeah. Do like the Dobre brothers suggest and just stop that.
Stop it.
Stop
Get
it.
some help.
Yeah,
get some help.
I was gonna do it.
But shouldn't have to tell people this.
No.
Well, here's the thing. Unfortunately, those who will be racist aren't going to stop just because you told them to. And the ones who are going to obey you and not be racist, they probably weren't racist to begin with.
That is my waking nightmare.
Yep. Well, hey, there's that small chance that when somebody hears "stop being racist," they'll go,
like, "Oh my god!
I never considered that I should stop."
Oh my god!
That I could.
I should work together with my neighbors, not
It's
tear
crazy.
them apart.
It's like we're all human beings, and race really doesn't matter. Oh man.
And here I was trying to consume their flesh to look like them, but I never even realized that inside we're all the same.
Anyway, that's been us. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh, yes, right. Download Raid Shadow Legends.
No.
Our sponsor for this
God
week,
damn
call
it.
to action.
All right.
Download Raid
No,
Shadow
it's not
Legends.
now.